This is gonna be part number 6 of Talking Music. Today we have with us a talented musician from Lebanon. He's fronting a heavy thrash metal band Blaakyum on vocals and guitar. He has also recorded vocals on albums by the Hourglass and has been member of several cover bands. A very active member of the Lebanese metal scene. I would like to welcome today with me here Bassem Deaibess. Hello, Bassem.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How you doing, my friend?
Good. Chilling.
Are you ready for this long conversation?
Oh yeah. Yes, I am.
So we opened with a track on the topic of what's happening today in our country, Lebanon. We will be talking about that. We will have quite a beefy time on that subject. We will talk politics a bit this time. We'll talk music. We'll talk Lebanon. We'll talk Europe. We'll talk about everything. But as usual, we start where things started. So I have to ask you that question that you probably have answered before, but this time you have much more time to answer it in as much detail as you'd like. When did you first listen to rock? When did you first start playing rock?
Okay, I first started listening. I've said this so many times, so I'm gonna go briefly with this. I started listening to pop music when I was a teenager. Pop and hip hop, we used to call it breakdance, and I was in that field. When I came to Lebanon in 1990, and I started listening to rock because it was on radio and TV. Honestly, originally because I used to record music and video clips on the VCR. So I could like dance on them after, because I used to. There was on MTV called The Rock Show with Kitty in I think 93, 94. And I was recording, and one of the things that was recorded, one of the big two clips was Wherever I May Roam. I think that was the first time I literally heard like a full metal track, and I was like, what the hell is this? How do you dance on that thing? And it was like, whoa, what's this? And then in class at school, one of our teachers, the French teacher, she used to tell us, if you want to listen to good music, listen to hard rock music. And then my cousins gave me, because they knew that I was into dancing music, so they gave me a Body Count, a tape of Body Count, which is a metal band, but the frontman is Ice-T, the rapper. And that was kind of my introduction. And they gave me this, and they gave me Crazy World, Scorpions. It was just released, and already on the radios we would listen to Metallica and Nirvana and Maiden and all the whatever's going on, because metal was like hardy everywhere. And
almost mainstream at the time, or mainstream you could say.
Yes, because the Black Album was the album that broke thrash metal into the mainstream, if you want. And literally all the FMs that used to play Occidental music, not Oriental music. They used to have, Wherever I May Roam or Enter Sandman would pass. I remember sitting with my cousin in the car and counting how many snares are there before the riff kicks in Enter Sandman, at the intro. And they were 12 snares. That's how I remember the number 12. So anyone listening to Enter Sandman, count the snares. I think it's 12. I was 14, 15, I think. Yeah. Wow. So that was my introduction to metal, through the media and through my teacher and through my cousins.
So you would say it was a bit difficult to get introduced to that, comparing to today, the access today you have to any music you could choose?
Not today. It was easier for me to get into metal, and the people of my generation, anyone between the 80s and 95, it was easy. in a way because metal was available. Because Lebanon always followed all. Yeah, I mean, when glam metal was the thing in the West, it was the thing in Lebanon. You know, it only became difficult when the whole ban on metal started, and it only was difficult between 95 and 2005 or 2006. So these 10, 11 years, that's where the difficulty existed. Because after that, you could get music online, especially after the whole Napster issue and when MP3s became available. And if anybody remember LimeWire, it was before torrent. We had LimeWire. We used to download illegally music because that's the only way we could get them in Lebanon. Yeah,
definitely. But I guess few would know that we used to also use dial-up internet with 50 kilobytes per second download. Yeah. So I used to wait like 1 hour to get one track to listen to.
Yep. Yep, literally like an album. It's like, can you get me this album? Yalla, give me 2 weeks and you have it.
Yeah. So you used to have some places where you can go kind of request the special music, wait for it, and come back and pick it up at some shops or something?
No. Oh, that didn't exist. There was Discorama. Now, the Discorama was at least in Beirut, it was the main feeder of metal. He used to feed metal before the internet. In the 80s and 90s, you'd go to Discorama, you tell him, I want to buy
I think you lost the internet for a second.
Yeah, I think I lost you. What was the last thing you heard?
You were just telling me about Discorama. You went to Discorama.
Oh, yeah. So I was saying that Discorama was the thing, okay? It was the place where it was the feeder of metal. He fed us the metal. So you'd go there and you'd tell him, like, I don't know, I like Metallica. And then he would tell you, okay, so if you like Metallica, listen to this band, and he'll give you a tape. It's called Death Angel. It's the same style. That's how things would happen. If somebody likes doom metal or death metal or black metal, he would recommend. So Discorama was our organic Spotify, if you want.
With the recommendation.
Exactly.
Was the algorithm good enough?
It was much better because you're literally there and he's asking you, what do you like? What do you enjoy? Okay. And you could listen. Yeah. Literally, he would just play the tape and make you listen to it. Yeah. If you like it, you'd buy it. Yeah.
So he's going to dig into physical records and pull stuff and that kind of thing.
Yep. Mostly cassette tapes because we were the teenagers, the younglings who didn't have enough cash to buy vinyl and CDs weren't the thing back then. Yeah, so that's how it happened. Now, after 95, it's a different story.
So you got into the music, you were listening, you were discovering some new stuff, going to Discorama, picking up new music. But when was it like for you the time you said, I can sing, I can play? Or when did you think you should make your own thing or you can do your own thing?
Okay. So basically, before I was really into metal, I got into that. Before that period, I was studying to become a priest. Mm-hmm. I think it has become a common knowledge for most people who watch the interviews.
Yeah.
I was studying to become a priest in a very nice monastery. The order is called Salesian. And the saint of that order is Don Bosco, who was the saint of the youth. So there was a stage and drums and guitars, and actually there was a nun who was teaching me guitar. That's how I learned, because I had 2 guitars at home that belonged to my uncle who left to the US. Mm-hmm. And one of them is Ibanez, which I had no clue that was a good thing back then.
Wow, yeah.
So I learned to play guitar. And when you learn to play the guitar, you need something to play. You cannot play hip hop with a guitar, you know.
Yeah.
So, and my father had Beatles tapes and Bob Dylan tapes and all these, you know, 50s, 60s stuff.
But that's
So I
already
started
some
playing.
nice stuff. That's already
Yes,
some nice backgrounds.
that's what I
Yeah.
started, you know, playing over.
Okay.
And then I discovered metal. Now, when I discovered metal, and you know, like one of the biggest bands that were always on TV were Guns N' Roses, and you'd always watch November Rain and Don't Cry. These two songs were constantly on TV.
Yeah.
So, and I was walking in my hometown. I'm from Shia Hain Rumani. So I was walking there, and I saw a guitar for sale in a shop. Now the shop is a tailor. It's a tailor shop. It's a woman who you know, you go there and you ask for a suit, but her child used to play guitar, her son, and he put the guitar in her place for sale, and it was just $100, and it looked like, for me, all I cared was like, it looks like Slash's guitar, because it was a Gibson, it was, sorry, a Les Paul model. Now the brand was Hondo 2. Hondo 2.
Okay.
That was the brand. But it looked like a Les Paul. That was enough for me. I bought it. And once I had an electric guitar, this is very cliche. I had an electric guitar, and like everybody who has an electric guitar in Lebanon, I want to form a band. Now, here's the fun part. There is a story of how I discovered the distortion. So basically, the distortion, I didn't know how that sounds come out. All what I had was acoustic guitars up until then, and then I got this electric guitar, and with the amp, and I just put it in the amp, and it's clean. You know, it's like what is this? Why? It's
frustration,
clean.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was at that time, I was very religious. I was studying to become a priest, and I was part of a religious movement called I don't know. I know it in French. Mouvement Apostolique Marial. حركة رسولية مريمية.
Yeah.
Yeah, something about Mary, Mother Mary, something. Yeah. So it was a religious group, and we used to go to areas. You know, like there was one in where I used to live, and there was one in Bet Miri. And one of the parties that we used to do, like, you know, youth, and we used to go to check out girls and stuff. Very Christian of us. So there was this guy, tall guy with long hair, and he had a flying V Gibson, and he was playing Metallica. And I was just starting to get into metal. Like, I didn't even know what song he was before. I know that this is a Metallica song. I didn't know the name. So I learned where he lived, and I took my guitar and went to him, my acoustic guitar, and I went to his place, and I wanted to اتعرف عليه. I wanted to know who that guy is. Wow, he listens to metal.
Yeah.
And
so
I asked him how.
Not the long hair blondie you wanted to meet.
No, basically, I think he was the first guy I saw in Lebanon with long hair. Like that didn't exist before.
In the 90s, it wasn't trendy anymore. Only in the 70s.
Yeah. I mean, when I started growing my hair, everybody used to like tell me, why do you want to look like girls? That was the mentality.
I've heard that when I had long hair.
Yeah. So basically, I went to Clément, his name was, and I asked him how. I told him, listen, when I listen to this music, there's this sound from the guitar, but when I play the guitar, it's clean.
Yeah.
And he told me, oh, the distortion. That was the first time I hear the word distortion.
Yeah.
And he picked up DS2, I think, or DS1, the orange one, and he said, you need a pedal to make the sound. And he told me about Metal Zone and blah blah, and he tried to يقرط the guitar to he told me, oh, do you want to sell this guitar? It's a bad guitar. Like, I didn't know what Lebanese was. You know, I was like,
it's a catch for him.
Yeah.
It was the value.
And he realized I was clueless about them. I was like, oh, it's not mine, it's my uncle's, blah blah blah. So anyway, that's how I learned about distortion. Then I went, and there was a guy called Mehran,
Yeah.
Mehran, I don't remember his family name. Mehran was in a band called, well, he wasn't in, he was, I think, I don't remember. I went to Burj Hamoud. I watched a band called Black Angel, I think, where I met the first bassist, well, not the first, one of the bassists that played with me later, Vic Bajar. And I think Mehran was performing there. That was the first time I watched a band performing on Tranik, I think it was, in Ashrafiyeh. And I met with him after that, and I told him, listen, I want to make a band, and you're a good guitarist. And he was a very good guitarist. I was a beginner, so it was like, probably, definitely a definite no. But he was so nice that he didn't say no. He said, yeah, we can try, blah blah. And I asked him, I need to buy a Metal Zone, and at that time, Metal Zone was discontinued and it wasn't in the market. So he told me, get a Hyper Metal, Boss Hyper Metal. It's the closest. So that was my first pedal. That's how I started. Oh, now before that, now that's why I started telling all this. Before that,
yeah,
at one point, because we had the stereo, Sanyo.
Yeah, I remember that.
It used to be it used to be a competitor of Sony.
Yeah,
and it was a double deck stereo, red stereo, and it has a really good sound. So you could literally put the mic in. So I used to just put the tape of whatever and play with them.
Yeah.
And once, I was, the volume is al at max.
Yeah, 11.
Yeah, yeah. And the guitar was so low, so I had to crank up the mic knob.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I heard the distortion. Because the speakers were cracking up and it was like distorted. I was like, oh, what is that? How can I do that again? Yeah, that was before I went to Clement and asked him how do we really make that sound.
There are two stories. Yeah.
We could. That was the only way I could make distortion. I had to get everything so loud, and the neighbors weren't happy.
There are two stories about distortion. I think one story is like the first distortion was made by cutting the speaker. Like you use a sharp blade and you cut lines into your speaker, and that was actually the first kind of a distorted speaker that was made at the early 60s or something.
Yeah, that's the British story.
Yeah,
because that's the Kinks. It's the Kinks.
Yeah,
it's the guitarist of the Kinks.
Exactly.
And the other story is Route 66, the album.
Yeah. What's the story of that one?
There was a guy, they were going to record in the studio, and the guy was taking the amp from the car and it fell and it had a hole.
Okay.
It punched the hole. Yeah, and then when he went to the studio and the producer heard, they staffed it with newspapers.
Yeah, okay.
With newspapers.
And that gave it more distortion?
Yeah, and when the producer heard the sound, he was like, we'll keep it.
Oh,
and
okay.
the actual amp is still now in that studio. It's on display.
That's interesting. Did you ever hear of
that happened in America?
Okay, so there's the British version, then the US version. Okay, yeah. But they're mostly allies, and they're mostly both very influential in rock, right? So it's difficult to argue, I'd say.
Yeah, I firmly believe that it happened independently in both places.
That is also a common thing that happens sometimes in history. Have you ever heard how Jimi Hendrix experimented with distortion and tried to make his own sounds? Do you have like any stories about that?
No, all I know is that there are theories about the reason why he could sustain the note and that sound was in his bones, but that's a theory.
Now I know about an example in the studio when he was recording. He brought a small can. He put a small speaker in the can and then a microphone, and it was a speaker microphone in the same can, and that was one way he added kind of a different distortion effect to his guitar. So there are experimental ways, there are some creative ways, sometimes intentional, sometimes I guess unintentional, when you drop the speaker and you just fix it with a bit of newspapers.
Yeah.
Okay, so but until now you're not singing. How did that join the thing, or that came a bit later? If that came later, let's move on with the music first, then we talk about vocals.
Well, I at that point I was trying, like I used to sing while I'm playing, and I didn't know how I sounded. most probably horrible, and and there was still some pop in whatever I was singing out, because the first attempt to create a band was with people who don't listen to rock music. So the playlist that we used to put was like Careless Whisper, and She's Got the Look for Roxanne, for Roxette, stuff like this. Now it included a bit of rock because it was on the mainstream. The softies, November Rain, Knocking on Heaven's Doors, Nothing Else Matters. But there was also pop in there. So I used to sing with the tape, like with the music at home. When I decided, and Eric Clapton and stuff like this, when I decided to try to form a rock band, hard rock / metal band, it was with my neighbor who was into blues and rock, and we started looking for members. We got members. Up until that point, I was just singing alone. Like, I've never sang in a rehearsal room. I've never been in a rehearsal room yet, It was just people getting together. We'd go home, we'd play acoustic guitar. So I used to sing while playing acoustic guitar, but that was it. And I used to take the acoustic guitar to the university. Like, instead of attending the class, I'd be singing outside, stuff like this. So it's only when my neighbor, his name was Maroon. I can't remember his family name. He made me meet Jad Nahra, who was the co-founder of Blaakyum. He's the guitarist, the solo guitarist. And then we went to take classes with a teacher called Tony Campbell, and we had our first gig in a church. We didn't have a drummer, and so our teacher said, "Oh, don't worry, we can play. I can give you a drum machine." But then the people in Hazmiya, it wasn't Hazmiya, it's a small town in Mount Lebanon. They told us, "We heard that you're looking for a drummer. We can show you someone. He lives right next to us here." And so this little guy came with his drums, and he just set it up. And for us, he was a little guy because he was still at school. Yeah. We are big guys because we were in university,
Yeah.
And he started playing. I was like, well, he's good. So we just practiced, and that was the first time I actually sang, like, on a microphone, not, in that gig. Yeah. So, and then he was like, "Oh, guys, if you want me to join your band, you can perform. I have a basement, a shelter, because in Lebanon buildings had shelters during the war."
Yeah.
So we go to the shelter. It used to be called Bil Malja. Where are you rehearsing? Bil Malja, in the shelter.
Yeah.
So we set up, and we literally built a rehearsal room there, and yeah, that's how I started singing, literally.
It was technically an abandoned shelter, just an abandoned place?
No, it's the building where the drummer lived. His name is Jean Saad. Okay. So his grandfather is Anton Saad. Anyone who's old enough knows who that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And so his father, who was also a general in the army, his hobby was carpenting. So that shelter was turned into a workshop.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we took part of it. Yeah, it was funny.
That's interesting.
That's how I started.
So you started singing with this kind of a band, but not yet a band, is it?
No, that was Blaakyum.
That was Blaakyum. So that directly turned into what is Blaakyum.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And that was 95?
That was the summer of 95.
Summer of 95. Okay. Yeah. And you started mostly, of course, covering at first. You discovered that you can sing by then, and
not really, actually. Actually, I mean, I was singing. I think I wrote "Am I Black?" I wrote it before I formed Blaakyum.
Okay.
Okay, and maybe I've never said this live before. Am I Black is my rendition of a song called Madame Blue for a band called Styx.
Mm-hmm.
And I still love that song. Uh, so it was almost the same progression, but then I created the whole song, and other than that, everything else was a cover. We would cover Metallica and Iron Maiden, and Nirvana. Oh yeah, and Offspring.
Okay, at the time, yeah.
Yeah,
And
but
this Madame Blue was it in any way connected with the theme in any way, or just the progression, just the
no,
tune?
it's just a progression. It's just a progression.
Okay.
I mean, if I don't know if you have copyrights or not. If you want, you can look for it. It's called Madame Blue on YouTube.
Yeah.
If you can put the first few seconds and you'll hear it.
Okay. We'll share it in the comments. We'll share it in the comments. Patrick will look for it.
Yeah,
Share it in the comments for who would like to watch it.
Styx. The band is called Styx.
Okay.
STYX, I think. Styx. Yes.
Okay.
So anyway, at that time, I was singing, but not everybody in the band was happy with my voice.
Okay.
and to the point where now this is one of the mistakes we did. I mean, that was 95, no internet. Literally, the internet started in Lebanon in 1998.
Yeah.
Before that,
Nothing.
maybe there was like very slow dial-ups where you literally can just send emails or something. So no internet. I don't like when I discover somebody who is into metal, we became instant friends because like the first time I realized someone
Yeah.
else other than me listens to metal, like
Yeah.
metal. That at that point I was like more than the mainstream. Like I would listen to stuff like Morbid Angel and which wasn't mainstream, and
Yeah.
and Tiamat and all of that. And then I'd find someone who's into metal. It's like, oh, I thought I was the only one here, you know?
Yeah. Those rare people. Yeah.
Yeah, and then when you start knowing that, oh, actually, come every Saturday we're hanging out in that place or that place, and I was like, and then literally it's when I went to university, like the first year at uni, when I started meeting the metalheads who used to run the illegal rock stations.
That was trendy at the time. There was a lot of those, right?
Yeah, and one of them is Generation X FM. And yeah, and I met Haytham, who used to run it. Khairallah, I think, Haytham Khairallah. He was studying history. I was studying psychology, so we were in the same
Section.
faculty.
Yeah, faculty. Yeah.
And then I met another guy who had Blue FM in Balloune. So sorry, in Adonis, and so. You know, that community was there, and I didn't even know. And so to go back to the band, so we were practicing, we were performing, but we didn't have anyone to guide us. Is the internet cutting or is it good?
It's all good. There was no rock school at the time, right?
Yeah.
No
so
Black.
the first thing.
Yeah.
The first thing I wanted to do is to perform in a concert. Yeah. Which is the worst thing you do because we're a band that we're like few months old, so you don't really realize that you're not really good on your instrument yet. You're not synchronized yet. Yeah. You don't get all that.
Yeah.
So the first concert we performed was in the university, in the Lebanese University faculty of human sciences.
Mm-hmm.
We did it in the amphitheater. It was co-organized with Generation X, and we performed. It was fine. And then we performed in Rock Concert 1. It was called Rock Concert. That was the name. It was the biggest rock event. It was in Beirut Hall, in one of the containers, which was huge. And there were like 12, 13 bands performing, including us.
Wow.
So now that...
Which year was that?
1996.
96. 1 year later after you formed. So yeah.
Yeah.
You said
So
in the
we
summer.
were.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. It was in the summer of 1996. So exactly 1 year later.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, what happened is that we performed. We weren't as bad as we people told us we were, but we weren't good. And the guitarist literally told me, "Listen, either you quit singing and we get a vocalist who can sing,
Yeah.
and you remain on rhythm guitar, or I'm leaving the band."
Oh.
Now, yeah. Now
Ultimatum.
I had that ego at that time, like,
Mm-hmm.
no, I'm not stop. Like I kind of realized I wasn't that good, but I didn't want to stop. So he left the band. That's when
Okay.
I met Vic. I told him, like, "Ooh, I remember I watched you in that concert, and we became friends, and then we decided, like, we felt that the drummer and the guitarist were خلاص going into a they made a band called Society, glam rock band, and so I was in a rehearsal room jamming with the drummer, and Beak was with me, and I was singing Painkiller. Now I could go high notes. I just sounded horrible, but I could go high notes.
Yeah.
So at that point, Jean-Pierre Matar, who was the guitarist of Exceed at the time, which are one of my influences, was in the rehearsal room. There were rehearsal rooms in the area. And he heard me, and he came in and was like, "You were the one singing?" And I said, like, "Yes." And I told him, "Oh, you're the guitarist of Exceed." And I was like, "Oh my God,"
Yeah.
And I was like, "We have a concert, but we don't have a guitarist. Do you mind if you play with us?" We had a concert in Pico.
Okay.
And he said, "Okay, we'll try for one time." And we played a bunch of songs for Metallica and stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, when the concert was done and he was putting his guitar back into his case, and someone came and told him, "So you're now the guitarist of Blaakyum?" And he said, "Yes." And I was like, "Yes, yes,
Okay.
he's." And that's how the second formation of Blaakyum happened.
So he enjoyed the gig and he was like automatically in. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a very formal way to join a band. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I mean, the drummer wasn't. I don't remember his name. I don't remember his family name. I remember his name. We used to call him Georgique, which is not the Georgique who was with me in communion. I don't remember. I mean, remember he wasn't. He was like, he couldn't keep a timing. And then Jean-Pierre, he was like, "I'll speak with Ghassan Sa'ar." Now, understand this. I'm a kid who just started playing guitar 2 years ago, started a band a year earlier, and now I have Jean-Pierre Matar, who is the guitarist of Exceed, and he's telling me, "I'll get you Ghassan Sa'ar to perform with us as drums." But Ghassan Sa'ar, at the time, we used to call him the drum god with the golden kick, because he doesn't play double bass.
Yeah.
But if there's a song with a double bass, he just played it with a single pedal.
Yeah.
Ghassan was the drummer of a band that used to be called Revelation, I think, and then they changed to Sidra. They changed the band name into Sidra. It was one of the big bands in the end of 80s, early 90s. And so yeah, he was like, wow, so these high caliber musicians that are joining this band, and there's me and Vic.
Yeah.
Now Vic he started music before me, probably. Yeah. And so I was the worst. I was the worst in the band.
But, yeah.
And at that point, like around 1998, I used to give guitar lessons for beginners, and I was telling some of my students, like, I wish someone would teach me how to sing, because at that time, I'm getting older a bit, I'm getting mature, I'm starting to understand that I sound like shit, like you can't go on like that. And I asked them, do you know anyone who could teach me how to sing?
You needed
And that was
nun.
like, you know,
You needed another nun for the
yeah,
chorus.
maybe. So I remember there were three of them, a girl and two guys, and they were in the same school, St. Joseph's School, which is the school where the guy, the little student who committed suicide and caused us the whole issue.
We're definitely gonna get to that in detail.
Yeah. So on my birthday, I was teaching them and said, we have a birthday gift for you. We talked with our teacher, and he agreed to teach you to teach you how to sing. He's an opera singer. His name is Edgar On. He had the nickname Tenor du Liban. He was back then very famous opera singer. So I went to St. Joseph's School, and he met me, and he started like playing, you know, scales and tell me, okay, sing this, sing this, sing this. And he said, okay, your scale is good, because some people have broken scales, because, you know, like there are certain notes that he said I was worried I'd have to ask you to stop singing for 2 months so we'd forget everything and then we start over. But your scale is good, so we're gonna start right away. Tell me, is there anyone you'd like to sound like? So I had with me a bag, you know, I always had a bag with me when I was a teenager.
Cassettes.
Yep, and I took cassettes and CDs at that time. I'm talking 1998.
Yeah.
So I took a bunch of tapes and CDs of Iron Maiden and just put them on the table. I was like, I want to sound like this guy.
Easy goal. Yeah. Okay. The guy called Bruce Dickinson, was it?
Yeah. And he was like, okay, I'll listen to these. Now the thing is that he was open-minded, because a lot of opera teachers, of vocal coaches, are closed-minded in Lebanon. Like, if you don't sing either opera or tarab, you know, which is an Arabic classical
traditional singing.
If you don't sing one of these two, like Ronza, she's a very famous teacher and performer who would refuse to teach anyone who wants to sing rock.
But for them, that could be out of their skill set.
No, because because vocals is vocals.
That's what I wanted to get to. So it's not different.
Vocals. Yeah. Now, definitely, if you're singing opera, it's something, and if you're singing, but the basics are always the same. And if you're formed in opera performing, you know, in opera singing, it's the best thing you can get, to be a growler, to be, you know, anything. So he was open-minded. But he used to listen to Bon Jovi, so that was like fine. I mean, the guy is not like closed-minded. So he told me, yes, come back next week and I'll see you. So I came back next week. Now, one of the CDs that were in there was X Factor, because it was newly released. So when I came back the next week, he takes the X Factor and he told me, listen to this and try to imitate this guy.
Okay.
And I was like, no. I want to sound like Bruce Dickinson, not like Blaze Bayley. And his advice was like, listen, we're Oriental people, so our vocal type is thicker, lower. We have a lower register than the European.
Yeah.
So this is closer to your voice, to how you will sound. And then I started taking lessons, and I started singing and getting better and better. I'm just telling you all this so we don't have to come back to it again, okay?
Yeah.
So and I started literally getting better. Now, at that point, Blaakyum was around 1999, like a year after I started taking vocal lessons. Blaakyum was Jad, the guitarist, who left originally because he wanted to bring another vocalist.
Yeah.
He rejoined Blaakyum, and Jean-Pierre was with us.
Did he hear you sing first, or he did join before he heard you sing?
No, he heard me sing.
Okay.
Yeah. And Jean-Pierre was with us, but then he had to go to the army. He had the Tajneed Ijbari, military service.
Yeah.
So we got a guy called William Malouk on guitar. And Rodrigue Balian. Now, Rodrigue Balian was the first time in my life I find a drummer with double pedal.
Okay.
I've never seen anyone with double bass, not double pedal.
Mm-hmm.
So he would literally set his drums. He was a huge Dream Theater fan. He's the one who introduced me to progressive music.
Yeah.
And so that was the band. We performed in Ehden International Festival, and then Rodrigue left. Now I was trying to suck up to Rodrigue, like to get him back to the band. So I'd always used to visit him, and then he asked me. He was like, during one of our conversation, he was like, that was I had started learning vocals, okay? So he was like, between 1 and 10, he's asking me, where do you see yourself as a vocalist?
Okay.
So my answer was 2.
Self-assessment right at 2. Okay.
So his answer was 2. You're optimistic.
What the hell? Okay.
That's when I decided that I'm going to become a singer. And I want to, I mean, there was that, I just wanted to get to the point where I could look at him again and tell him, I'm not, you know, I'm at least 5 now.
Okay.
So when I recorded my first album with the Hourglass, I sent it to him. I didn't tell him it was me. I told him, listen, because I kept, you know, we became friends. Like I'd always, you know, visit him and stuff. And I told him, listen, take a listen to this. This is a band. Like, I literally didn't put any, like the CD. I made a copy of the CD, so there's no name, nothing. And I gave him the CD, and I told him, tell me what you think.
That was 2003 already, right?
That was 2003. Yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, 2003. And then I called him 2 days later from a payphone from work. I used to work in nightclubs as a VJ, visual DJ, whatever that is. So I went out in Mono. I crossed the street. I put the card in the public phone.
Yeah.
And I called him to ask him what did he think of that band. Yeah. And his reply was like, yeah, it's very good. It's you singing, isn't it?
Okay, and then?
I was like, yes, it's me. It's excellent. And I was like,
wow.
Yes. That's how. So yeah, now you can ask me questions.
So you reached a certain level you aimed for, at least to have enough confidence with your vocals. You pushed for it, obviously.
Yeah.
But it was kind of the other people challenging you that really made you put all that effort.
If you want the moral of the story, I knew that I knew that I could sing. Okay. And when he told me like 2 is being optimistic, I was crushed.
It didn't break your confidence. That's the thing. You might think you're good, but
it made me want to challenge him, because that's also how I learned to play guitar. When I was young, when I was at school, in Qatar, because half of my life was in Qatar.
Yeah.
In the Lebanese school. My French teacher back then, one of the assignments, what would you like to do? And I was horrible in French. I was like, I didn't learn French to that point, because I didn't, and I was living in the Gulf, so nobody speaks French. And
English was the language.
Yeah. So she asked us, what would you like to do? And I said, I would like to become a guitarist, and she was like, yes, but to become a guitarist, you need talent. You need emotions. But she said it in Arabic. لازم يكون عندك إحساس.
Yeah.
So she literally told me that I'm a person who has no feelings. Yeah. And that was so that's me.
Another blow.
Yeah, so that's me. When I get challenged, I take on the challenge. Now, my point when Rodrigue told me that I'm horrible at vocals, I said I'm gonna go and learn how to sing properly and see if I can sing. Like I didn't consider like I'm gonna, I was literally just because I'd love to remain a frontman. That's what I used to enjoy.
Yeah.
Composing and performing and playing and singing.
And you enjoyed singing your own stuff. Like you wouldn't give the lyrics to someone else.
Yes, that's one part. But the main thing is I couldn't imagine myself playing without singing or singing without playing, although I did it later with Hourglass. Okay. So I tried, I went, I learned, and I was good. So, like I was literally, it's not like I challenged myself because I wanted to get better, but I always had in mind that if after all this I sucked, then it's not for me. Like you'd have to stop at the point.
So you would try enough to know for sure if you are able to do what you want to do. I have a question from one of the listeners, Adnan Mirhaj. He's asking what comes first for you as a musician. Is it guitars or the vocals? For you personally, where do you put more into effort, work, focus?
Both. I really whatever the music requires. I mean, like the first album of Blaakyum, you have instrumentals. One of the instrumentals doesn't have the band. it's just classical.
Okay.
So I mean, I literally, I mean, that was my problem from the start. I can't separate both. Now, I'm not that good I'm not the brilliant guitarist. I'm a riffer. I play riffs, I'm a rhythm guitarist.
You don't necessarily solo and lead, but also
I compose.
That's the point. So you don't necessarily always have to be technically very professional, very challenging technical guitar play, but you can compose complicated structures, riffs, and match them with the right lyrics.
Yeah,
that has value.
And when I compose, the main thing I always have in mind is to get a feeling. I want, like I'd say, because I'd be feeling angry, I want the listener to get angry. If I'm feeling sad, I want the listener to feel sad. And when I achieve that in a way, because in the end, music is subjective. Like what sounds very sad to me might sound, like serenity for someone else, But when you achieve something close to what you have in mind, when you'd be performing and I remember like watching some bands perform and then I see the crowd crying, for example, or angry, that is
you want
the
reaction. You want someone to
you want to make people feel something. And so for me you can do it with just vocals or just guitars. Shout out to Adnan. Adnan is from Syria. He's a very good guitarist. He has a project. Oh wait, no, that's which Adnan is that? Let me check, because I know two Adnans.
Mrayhij, I think it would be pronounced.
Is it Mrayhij? Is it Mirhij?
Mrayhij is MRYHIJ.
Oh, I lost the. Okay. Because I think because of the way it's written, it's unmuted. I think it's unmuted. Show Adnan, because I always used to say that his name, his family name is like someone who just threw Scrabble letters together, or something like this.
Okay.
So shout out to Unmuted.
We see the mug, we see the shirt.
Oh yeah, the shirt.
Shout out definitely to Unmuted. I actually watched you on an interview not long ago with them. And that's now we're trying to kind of continue where you started there. So that I know you always have much more to share. So that's Bassem talking part 2, you could say.
Yeah, if everybody watched part 1.
Well, now they could go to part 1. We'll definitely share it also in the comments. So we will share that, the link for that. They can watch that, definitely. Let's talk a bit about the releases with Blaakyum first. I know we have also the Hourglass to talk about, but we already started talking first about Blaakyum, and technically Blaakyum was first. The first track you started playing as your original as a band was Am I Black? And that was it was, I could say, released 1998.
Yes, it was released 1998, and then we released it on tapes.
Okay.
And then in 1999 we re-released it on mp3.com. Back then mp3.com was a website where you can upload your music as an artist.
So the old version Bandcamp kind of?
That was the first. There was nothing else. There was mp3.com.
Okay.
Now it's still, I think it still exists, but now it's like you know, like all the rest. But back then that was the only place where you could upload your picture and upload your music as an artist. And we made $2 out of that back then. I still have, you know, they sent me a check, which I was like, how do I cash this out? And then someone looked at me and said, like, it's gonna cost you more than $2 to cash that out.
Okay, I see. Yeah.
Anyway, so we released it with the Perpetually Selfish Entity, as you know, and we already had 4 songs, I think. I don't remember the title, all of them. I remember one of them was called Black Mind. And we recorded them in Hart Harek in Kareem Ramadan studio. And it's a funny part because for those who don't know, Hart Harek is a Hezbollah stronghold.
Yeah.
And Kareem was his father was an MP in the party. Kareem learned he was in America and he learned sound engineering, and he came back. Now he had a studio where Hezbollah uses to record their stuff, and all the Lebanese bands in at that time, 1995, 1996, 1997. They went and recorded there. Exceed, Threshold of Pain, Backyard, Junkyard, Spliff, Scapegoat, Sidra, Bob Dean and the Rusty Minds, I think, Valhalla. Oh God, there were so many bands back then. And these bands, they all went and recorded there. We
nobody
recorded
there minded the kind of music you're recording, the kind of...
Now, the first time we were recording there in 1997, like you'd go into his studio, and in the drum room in the booth, he had Cinderella and Poison. He was a glam guy. Cinderella and Poison and all these posters, and it was like, you know, underground. And then we got kicked out from the recording process because our producer back then, Bassem Deaibess, unrelated to us. He was angry because we took video and he shot ourselves recording without his permission, so he kicked us out. So the next year we gathered $100 and we went to Kareem and said, like, how much would it cost to record the song again? And he said $100. So we were like, okay, this is $100. Now when we went there the second time,
we have to mention inflation. $100 was maybe $300 now.
Yeah, $100 is well, before the revolution, before the crisis in Lebanon, yes.
Yeah, the value is different because now, like, $100, that's easy.
Yeah, exactly. So we went there, and I remember going down to the studio, and suddenly there was no more Poison, no more, you know, posters. It was all like wood walls with Al-Aqsa Mosque.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah. Complete change.
And it was like, I was like, what the hell happened? I said, oh, now I officially record for Hezbollah. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he cut his hair. He had long hair. Now he cut his hair. Fine. And I was like, oh, too bad. So you don't drink now? He said, no, I do drink. And he opened the small fridge and he took beer and he said, okay.
Wow.
And we recorded Am I Black?
But you weren't able to record your reverse messaging anymore, right? That plan was gone.
Oh yeah. We couldn't destroy the youth.
Okay.
For anyone who didn't get the sarcasm, that's what people at that time used to think that we do. We record backward. Yeah, backward message to make people commit suicide. Yeah, we'll get into that. But here's the funny story. So we were performing. We were recording. And I remember one time I see Karim running he just stood up from the console. He took all the beers and put them in a bag and he ran. And then there was like kind of a secret,
stash
box in the wall.
Yeah.
Like he opened it, he threw them there, he closed them, and he was like, guys, come and sit here and don't say a word because people from Hezbollah are coming and they want to listen to what they recorded. Because, Hezbollah as a Shia religious group, they can sing a cappella, but there's not allowed to be any instruments. So all their religious songs or their party songs, the party as the political party, not party. Yeah, it's all a cappella. Now what happens is that Karim forgot to take out
your track,
not ours, because we were listening to Valhalla and they have a song called The Curse. So the guys came and he was supposed to play their music. He pressed plays and there's a voice go like, The Curse. They were all like, and he was, sorry, this is for a movie. And he took it out.
A horror movie, you're producing a horror movie.
And when they left, it was like, that was close. So I had to hide the beers and not forget to take Valhalla's black metal song from because we used to record on videotapes. That was the thing between the reel, reel to reel, which are the things that people used to record on the 80s, and right before the digital like hard disk era. In between those two, you'd record on reel to reel, and then you get the final product on a 8mm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was the technology of the time, the capabilities of the time. So that's how you got to record Am I Black and 3 other tracks, as I understood.
No, the three other tracks were recorded
earlier.
And we never got them again. We couldn't.
You don't have the lyrics from that, the whatever kind of content of that, or it's just gone?
I have lyrics. I think they're in Lebanon now. I think I have the lyrics of Black Mind.
For those who don't know, you're not in Lebanon anymore, right?
No, I'm in Qatar, in Doha, Qatar right now. Yeah.
So that's something gone. Whatever was done, recorded, these tracks are gone.
Well, I visited Karim once, like in 2012 or 13.
Yeah. And
he said he still have them, but I never went back, so I don't know.
Okay, so one day you might see them on YouTube somehow.
You're assuming that we will become famous.
I don't know. You never know. We'll talk about that too.
Yeah.
One reason I have you as a guest is the people I usually like to have as guests are people I think they have the real potential to become bigger than what they are. Although Blaakyum is not a small band, not a new band anymore, but that doesn't mean they cannot become bigger. And
we're only 26 years old as a band.
So only a few years more and you'll be in the British Museum. Okay, I see. So that was Am I Black? That was 98. What was the strange story behind that track? Because I heard you say it got kind of a.
I wrote it before Blaakyum. So I wrote it when I was studying theology,
What did it
and
mean
I
to
was.
you?
It's a pure Christian song. It's a
Okay.
pure Christian song. It has all the, in Christianity, one of the basis of the foundation of the religion is the fact that we are born with the original sin, which is the disobedience of God, and Jesus came to save us. But then not everybody accepted Jesus, so if you don't accept him, by the time you die, you know, you
That's where
end
the
up in
question.
this, you end up in a place where all the cool people are, and if you accept him, you end up with a boring place called heaven. Now, basically,
Yeah.
uh,
You weren't
this
convinced that it was boring at the time.
no, definitely. I was really like I don't think it's boring. I don't think it exists. But back then, I believed in all of that. So, Am I Black is literally talking about someone who is in his darkest hour and he is asking literally Jesus to help him. And that becomes evident. Like the first part is how this person feel betrayed by everyone and everyone, left him. And then the second part of the song where it picks up, and if you literally look to the lyrics, it says, I heard that you're by my side. I do adore you. This was me declaring my,
Faith.
how that I
Yeah.
believe in Jesus Christ. That's
But
the gist of it.
you are just now sincerely describing what it meant to you, and you just said that that's what it exactly meant. But you can still interpret this as it was written for Satan.
No, no,
Okay.
no, no. I have. I mean, I I I don't.
Yeah.
I know that there are few people in the world that worship Satan, the biblical Satan. Very few.
Yeah.
And these are probably mentally disturbed people, because even the Satanists in like the Church of Satan and all of these are either atheistic Satans, so they don't believe in a superpower, they don't believe in God, they don't believe in Satan, they just
Defiance.
spite the church. And that's why the Church of Satan have everything the church does, but in reverse. So they have, the equivalent of
Yeah. They think they're going against the stream.
archbishop
Yeah.
and yeah.
Okay.
But if you look at their 10 commandments, their own 10 commandments, it's against child molestation. It's against hurting animals. It's against hurting others. I mean, it's not evil.
Yeah.
They do
Okay.
just, and so that's the Leviathan, I think, for Anton Lavey. But you have also the black metal, the Norwegian black metal, or that kind of Satanism, which is rooted in the Viking mythology. So actually, for them, they don't believe in the Satan of the Bible. They
Yeah.
believe in their own gods, which is Odin and
Yeah.
the whole
Loki and.
Viking religion. But it's because they consider that the church came and Christianity was forced on them. So it's kind of their cultural identity. They're trying to get back their cultural identity. So it's a kind of a cultural war rather than religious. So even these people, they don't believe in the biblical Satan. So yeah, I find it ridiculous that anyone would believe in a biblical Satan. It's just stupid. And anyway, anything that is religious for me is not something I would endorse or I
Yeah.
mean, I'd respect everyone's beliefs, but
So
I respect them, but
yeah.
not their beliefs.
So on 2 points, you personally moved away from whatever beliefs you had, obviously,
Yeah.
but you also didn't intend to include that topic in your lyrics anymore. So How much is religion involved in whatever lyrics you wrote later?
It is.
Yeah.
Oh, well, religion is involved. I mean, we have a song in Line of Fear called "Religion of Peace."
And how is the perspective in that
Yeah.
one on the topic?
Well, that's literally I'm talking about Islam as not as a main religion, but as literally the Islamic State. You know, ISIS,
The
ISIL, whatever.
extremist side, the non.
For me, all religion is extreme, to be honest.
Okay.
You know, yes, there are moderate Muslims, and there are Muslims who are not even religious. Like I'm a Christian, and I'm not religious. I was born a Christian.
Yeah.
But for me, religion is a form of extremism.
Mm-hmm.
And not because, I mean, I'm an extremist in a way. I'm an atheist that I used to be a militant atheist. Well, maybe I still am in a way. So that's maybe you can say that this is extreme. I like extreme metal. Our music evolved. I used to play heavy and thrash. Now a lot of our music have black metal elements and death metal elements. So that's extreme. But religion is extreme in the negative sense. It's child abuse. It's immoral. It's the fact that you have the knowledge, the truth, and everyone else don't. And no matter how much all these congregations around the world of religions coming together, Islam and Christian dialogue committee in the Vatican and in Beirut, and all of that, that is hypocrisy, because every single religion is anti all the others. And yes, they're trying to be more tolerant, but that's not in your religion. Because literally, in Christianity, if you don't believe in Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, you go to hell. So there's no way around this to try to trick everyone and say, yes, we love our brothers, the Muslims. Yes, you do. But you don't believe that they are going to heaven like you do. And the same thing about Islam, and same thing about Judaism and Buddhism and Zoroastrian. I mean, every single religion on this earth consider itself the one true religion. So
if you assume there is 400 religions, if you are in one of them, you do have 399 tickets to hell from the others.
Yes,
Good.
literally.
That's a lot of tickets.
That's extreme. That's why religion is extreme.
So you do qualify for hell VIP, I guess. Okay, I'm not gonna go too much into religion. I'm also born technically a Christian. I have no real belief. Of course, it's a topic for long discussion with people who are too much into it. I don't even give it too much attention, too much discussion. I don't find it that important for my being, for my existence, but it's interesting sometimes to discuss it with those
but the reason why there's a lot of religion in Blaakyum's music, not religion, we talk about religion, we criticize it, is because it literally destroyed Lebanon. And
still is.
It still is. And one of the biggest lies that we've been fed is that Lebanon is the land of coexistence and cohabitation between the religions, and it's a prototype, and damn this prototype that has never worked for the past 200 years. I mean, even in 1880s, 86, when there was the massacres between the Christians and the Druze, I mean, it never worked.
So far it's a failing prototype with no solution for anything to work for the people, right?
There is a solution that just people don't want to. The solution is stop religion interfering in politics. I mean, you want to believe in whatever you want to believe. Do it in your home and do it in your temple, whether it was a church or a synagogue or a mosque or whatever. Just do it there and at home, but don't do it, in the public sphere. And
everyone has to
secularism.
agree. Everyone has to agree for that. If one group decides to do it and the others don't, then they will say, they're using that for whatever. There will always be like this fear of the other.
And that's why we go back to the main point that religion is child abuse. So literally children are fed these ideas since they're young, that they are chosen and they are better than all the others because they believe in the real God and the true God and the truth, and they have the truth, and it's this, and you feed them. And as Voltaire said, those who make you believe in absurdities will make you commit atrocities. And that is not exclusive to Islam. That's it. That's in all religions. We've seen what happened with Mashru' Layla, and we've seen who did that. It wasn't Islam. It was the Christian clergy. We've seen what happened with metal and what have been done to us, and that was initially the church who started it, and then the rest, joined the party.
They're always also assumed to be the proper authority on ethical things and ethical subjects, right?
Yep. Although if you eat shrimps, you have to go to hell, and if you and you can marry a 9-year-old and you can beat your wife, but we are the ones who are unethical.
So it's a long topic, that this ethical pedestal and the position.
So to tell you, yes, there is religion in Blaakyum. It's when we criticize it, when we talk about it, there is also kind of like, we do speak about the ancient Phoenician gods because that's my heritage. I'm not a nationalist. I'm not even a patriot anymore.
There are some right-wing people too attached to the Phoenician history.
Yeah. Let's not get into that because that's but I mean, for me, I don't believe in nationalism because I believe that people have the right to go anywhere, and if you feel you belong in a place, you should be able to go there. Like I don't feel I have a lot in common with most of the Lebanese, but when I go to Europe, I feel at home. So why can't I just go there? It's because they're borders, and I'm against borders. So but my heritage is my heritage, and I come from Lebanon, and my heritage are the Phoenicians. And also when you remember what they teach you about the Phoenicians in school, they always leave out a lot of stuff because they don't want you to know that, or maybe they don't know that. So there is that kind of, if you want, pagan theme in Blaakyum. That was the first song was Baal Adun in Line of Fear. There's a song in the next album. It's called Rise of Canaan, and it's about this subject as well. So and of course there are the songs like Line of Fear. The whole album is about standing up against the people who oppressed us. The first two songs, Crossing and Line of Fear, were literally written because of what Joe Malouf did to us in 2012, and it's about these kind of journalists and these people. And there are a lot of songs. I Am Who I Am, Destined to Rise. So it was these, and then we have Riot Against Riot, which is a bonus track, and that's because by the time we were recording the album in 2015, the first uprising happened in Lebanon, and we were part of that.
So Line of Fear was focused on that topic. I will probably play a video in a bit from the album. But before we go to that, let's talk a bit about the album that came before Line of Fear. So,
Lord of the Night.
Exactly, but since Am I Black, you had no releases until 2012.
Yeah, because in 2001, Blaakyum was disbanded.
Yeah.
In 2007, I decided to reform Blaakyum because between 2001 and 2007, I have joined Communion, which was a cover band, and I performed with the Hourglass. Now with Communion, I was trying to push them to create music. You know, they're
It
very
was
good
only
musicians.
covers.
So most of the time, we did one song called "The Slaughter," which is about the Armenian genocide, because I was the only non-Armenian, although they called me Bassem Deaibessian. But they were all Armenians. So, and I do support the Armenian cause. So
Yeah.
we did the Slaughter. That's the song, and I surprised the band. What I did is that when I was writing the lyrics, the last paragraph, I called the keyboardist mother, and I asked her how I want to translate this into Armenian. So literally, while we were recording the song, that part came and I sang it in Armenian, and they were like,
Surprised the band, huh?
"Yep," I surprised them.
That's nice.
So that was the only song they composed. Now we did compose. We composed "The Land." We composed "Lord of the Night," and there was one more song. It's either Battle Roar, no, Ceasefire. Now, Ceasefire was a song that I composed in the 90s with Blaakyum, that I recomposed with Communion, because I was trying to push Communion to do these originals. So we would play Lord of the Night, The Land. The Land was always on our playlist as Communion. But what I noticed is that everybody was asking for Am I Black? Every time. In every single time Communion performed, people were asking for Am I Black?
Because
I was
they
like,
still see you as the Blaakyum guy.
Yeah, I realized that because when I disbanded Blaakyum, I felt that Blaakyum was like just a band that failed, and I didn't know that it had an impact because
Traction, some followers.
yeah, I mean, our last concert before, not our last, but one of our biggest concerts before 2001 was in Rock Nation, the first ever Rock Nation, which was an annual concert that happened. And back then, I had David Lias on drums, I had Alain Azar on guitar, and Robert Aramouni on bass. And we performed, we played a lot of our originals and we played covers. And apparently we did an impression because it was one of the biggest concerts to date in Lebanon back then. So Blaakyum, yeah, I was like, okay, many people are, I mean, they still talk about Blaakyum. People remember Blaakyum. And I thought, Communion, the guys are more into playing covers because it's a hobby. They're not into it. Actually, they all, are married now, and somebody is in Canada and the others are in Armenia, and so I decided to reform Blaakyum. And when I did that in 2007, I wanted to record all the songs that I have composed before. But then with the new members, we started, changing a bit. Ceasefire is probably like 20% of what it used to be in the 80s when I rewrote it with Communion.
Yeah.
Last Stand is nothing like what it used to be in the 90s. Probably we changed the whole thing. Journey to Eternity was new, but we had 22 songs. We literally composed 22 songs, and we wanted to release a double album because at that time I was writing a story. That's where the name Sir Black comes from. He was a character in a story. So we had this big idea of releasing a double album with a book with the story, and it was a theme, So it was 11 tracks in one CD and 11 tracks in the other CD. So yeah, but I mean, we were dreaming big and we didn't know how to do any of this. We ended up, we just chose 11 tracks from the 22 songs and released the album. So the theme no longer, was there. The albums were going to be called The Gate 1 and The Gate 2. The song The Gate didn't make it to the album.
The title.
But a lot of, so Lord of the Night was just part of the album, but then the title track. And we just released. I just wanted to end that, end that era of only me being the only constant member in the band and writing everything. I mean, Lord of the Night is 100% written composed by me, produced by me, 100%. And I wanted to get this over and done with, because for me, the band is a group, is a collective, and it's not one person, and it can never be one person. And I never had, never had this desire of having Bassem Deaibess project, it's never that.
Okay, so you always wanted to have a band that works together on creating the entire thing together.
Yep.
Not a solo thing. That the album was released 2012, right? Lot of the Night.
Yeah.
And before that, but you said you kind of reformed it in 2007, and right at that same year, the band entered the competition, right?
Yeah.
What was the story?
Battle of the Bands. I reformed Blaakyum, and there was GBOB, Global Battle of the Bands. So I decided, come on, let's join. A lot of the heats were organized in Cherries, and I used to rent Cherries, the metal pub at the time. So we joined the competition. We had Gio Nacharian, Georgique. Now he's known on
drums.
on Gio on drums. We had Ushi Lias Rahbane on guitar, who was the guitarist of Red at the time, a band called Red, a cover band. And we had Rani Battikh on bass. And we did try guitarists before. We had Ralph Schweire, who later played with Bandage. He was part. He even composed a bit. He helped me in composition a bit, but then he couldn't continue the band. Sar Maître, he's a lawyer, so.
So the career could come in the way sometimes, right?
Not sometimes, all the time. All the members leave because of career.
Yeah.
So this was the band. We decided to just join the competition, and it was a fierce competition because in the end, it was us and Blood Inc.
Okay.
And it was very tight to the point where Roy Naufal, the bassist of Blood Inc., and who was also organizing GBOB.
Yeah.
And because there was something that happened during the jury, and there are certain notes that were not added because they considered that one of the jury was the brother of the bassist. Yeah, he was the brother of the bassist, and I was like, why get him into the jury?
Yeah.
Anyway, so there was this discussion, like if you take his grades, if you want, Blaakyum would qualify. If you take him out of the question, out of the equation, Blood Inc. qualifies. So we went to Cherries, we opened the Excel, and we were trying to discuss certain formulas to make it fair to both of us, so that we know who really would won. And every time we'd get to a kind of a solution and go, but maybe, and what if, and at the end, we were like, we got to a formula which, so most of the time we knew the results. Like when we suggest, like when I suggest a certain formula, both me and
Blaakyum.
we know the result. And when he suggested, so at the end, my brother Samer, he came up and he suggested a formula, and none of us knew the result.
Okay.
Like we didn't have it in mind. And I looked at Roy and I told him, okay, so none of us knows what is the result of that formula. We agree on this one, and whoever
goes.
Wins. And he said like yes, and it was Blaakyum on like 0.2 notes or something like that.
So it's good that you didn't like end up going as Black Ink with the hybrid band.
So anyway, it was almost tied. We went to GBOB. We represented Lebanon in London. That was the first time I ever performed out of Lebanon. It was the first time Rani Battikh, the bassist, travels. And I remember in the airplane, like I was telling him what he's going to feel and how it's going to feel.
But
and,
he's a bassist. He should remain calm.
Well, it was his first time. He sweated a bit when we took off, but then...
Okay.
And the funny part, I remember I was like, Rani was telling me, now, stay next to me because I've never I was like, you never flew in an airplane before? He was like, I've never seen an airplane up close before. That's the first time I get to the airport. So, that was the fun. That was the beauty of it. Like, we were going, and we did it in a way that after we won, we made a concert a few hours before our flight, only so that we would feel, the thing that, like, we finish performing, we take our stuff and go to the airplane and go to the next gig to have this, It was fun. Anyway, so we went there.
How was the experience? Like,
it's funny. I've been to UK before. Before that wasn't my first trip. It was my third. That was my third trip to the UK. So I was telling, because Rani was next to me the whole time, and I was telling Rani, listen, now when we go outside, you have to look to the right. You don't look to the left, because the cars, the road,
they will stop.
the road, the people drive on the right.
The whole switch.
Yeah. So I was like, when you were crossing, look to the right. Remember that. And he forgot. And he was walking and looking to the left, and I had to grab him because there was a bus coming. I had literally to grab him and pull him back. And the funny, and Rani looked at me and he said, it's not, the embarrassing part is not that you told me to, it's because on the street, there's a huge look right for the flash on the street, and he
right
didn't
in front
see
of
it.
him.
But also another funny thing is, like, I know that Georgique, it was also the first time he travels, and the first time I don't know if it was the first time he goes into an airplane, but it's he didn't travel much, so and I know he likes to eat.
Okay.
So I was like, Georgique, I used to call him Georgique, not Gio back then. We used to call him Georgique. Do you have any food with you? Because I know, I've been there before. I know that you can get cheese, you can get, fish, you can get meat, you can get these. It's not allowed to get them through the borders. And he was like, yes, I do. I was like, there's cheese in there, isn't there? He said, like, yes. I was like, okay, go to that officer, because you have to nothing to declare or something to declare.
Yeah.
I tell them go to and declare it, because I mean, if they check it and they didn't declare it,
you'll get them.
So he went there, and the officer was surprised. I mean, because nobody goes to the declare section, everybody. And I told the officer that he has cheese with him. So the officer looked at him. He said, "How big?" And Georgique was like, "That big." And so the officer said, "Yeah, next time don't bring cheese." Yeah. So we passed. We got to the hostel, and it was raining, and it rained on us, and we didn't have umbrellas, and I got sick.
Oh.
Yeah. And we got to the hostel where we're staying. And I remember I was, trying to take off my clothes and
you're carrying equipment
set up
also, right? Guitars.
Yeah,
and stuff.
yeah. And Georgique on the other side of the room, he opens his bag and he was like, "Shabab, hada bado yakul?" Like, he's like, "Guys, anybody wants to eat?"
Yeah.
And he opened the bag, and I was like, "What the? You said that big?" He had 4 smets, this block cheese. Huge cheese blocks, like 4 of them. Yeah. And he had like 4 or 5 bread.
Whoa. The whole restaurant.
And buzurat. And I was like, dude, if they opened this bag, we would have not made it out of the airport.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's like, these are. Oh, and another thing that Ushi wanted to smoke. Weed.
Yeah. Well, it was complicated at the time there.
Yeah, in
really
UK, yeah.
Yeah.
But he wanted to. Like, he's from Dur Shower. What can you say? So he was like, and I was like, forget it, dude. We're here for 3 days. Let's not make any trouble. Now, back at the time, it was no longer a jailable offense in UK.
Okay.
It's not legal, but if they catch you smoking, they give you like a paper telling you that it's not
Warning.
good, and then and don't do it again. But you don't go to jail.
I assume he got caught. That's how you know.
No. I knew this from before.
Okay.
So we were performing in the underworld. Right next to it, in Camden, there was the shawarma place, and the guy is Egyptian. So he heard us speaking in Arabic, and he's like, Arab, and so Ushi apparently he ضرب صحبته, you know, he made acquaintance, and he was like, and probably, I mean, I didn't hear him, but that's probably how it happened. He asked him, do you know anyone who has hash or weed? Now, it's not that hard, because literally when you go out of the metro in Camden, back then, that's 2007, you have people walking, talking to each other, and if they see you with either long hair or black guy, all the prejudice, all the stereotypes, you know, if they see you like a potential customer, they'd be walking, and then they go like hashish, weed. They just throw the word, you know.
They still do that in Netherlands and many other places also.
Yeah, well, so in the end, I don't know how. I mean, I know how. I asked him. It was some Arab dude who got him weed. So we were sitting. At that time, I used to smoke. I used to smoke weed. It was just this small period of time where I did weed. So I was like sitting, like, and Ushi was rolling, and we were in bunkers because it was a hostel. So there was, you know, four beds.
Yeah, level beds. Yeah.
So I was sleeping on the top. Yeah, I'm sleeping on the top. The drummer Georgic right under me, Ushi on the top right next to me, and down there was Rani. And we were like, guys, do you want to partake? And Georgic was like, no, I've never smoked before. And and Rani was like, no. Rani was the angel. He was, first of all, he was religious, like he was a believer.
Yeah.
And he was the decent gentleman, well-raised kid who never did anything wrong.
Yeah.
So it's like, no, I don't want. And we were like, come on, guys. So Georgie said, like, okay, I'll try it. And so we all started, making fun of Rani. It's like, even Georgic is gonna try it. You don't want to try it. Oh, what
peer pressure.
Yeah. And then at the end he was like, okay, Yamane, he just stepped out of his bed. He's like, okay, guys, I'll do it. And he smoked all of us. Now, it's the first time that Georgic and Rani smoke.
And he goes to stage.
No.
Okay.
No, that was 2 days before the
a day before. Oh, 2 days. Okay.
And Georgic right under me.
Mm-hmm.
And he started laughing.
Yeah.
By himself.
No side effect. Yeah.
Yes, and we're all high. So we're hearing someone going like like this, and then stopping, and then and then stopping. So we started laughing. Now, when we started laughing, Georgic started laughing harder and harder. And his laugh is so hilarious. And even if you're not, stoned, you'd laugh. And then he started laughing harder, and we started laughing harder, and we couldn't take a breath. We couldn't breathe. And Georgic started, this. He was going like,
yeah,
like this, and it was endless. And
yeah.
Oh my God! It took. I mean, we laughed for like 20 minutes, and then everybody simply like, you'd hear the voices fade away, and then everyone is asleep.
But I guess you were all stressed also. You kind of needed that.
We had a gig in 2 days, so yeah, we were.
Yeah, a gig in
and then
country,
and then we performed in the underworld, and I mean we were the only metal band, and we were the only band from the Middle East.
Two things that make you very, very unique. Okay.
Yeah, so we were, there were 35 finalists, 35 countries. We represented Lebanon. So we finished performing. One of the jury was the bassist of Sex Pistol, I think.
Well, okay.
Back then. I don't remember if it's the bassist or the drummer, whoever was alive at the time. I mean, and then they started, saying the winners. There was in that year there was it was called finals, but it was called finals heat 1 and then finals. So kind of a semi-final.
Yeah.
So half of the bands will not go to the finals. So they started saying the bands who qualified to the finals in alphabetical order, and they passed by B, and there was no Blaakyum.
Okay.
So we just left. I mean, we were like, okay, guys, we didn't make it. Georgic, Ushi, and I went up. Rani was like, I'm gonna stay, guys. I'll mingle and I'll.
Okay.
So we went up. That's that's when we realized that the guy upstairs was an Arab. So the weed was between heat 1 and heat 2. Yeah.
Okay.
So suddenly Rani, who has a what's it in English? عنده طرف ديسك. Actually, عنده disc.
Back pain. Let's call it back pain. He has a I forgot the technical name for it.
Yeah, he has a serious back injury or back problem, chronicle. So Rani, we always used to make fun of him, but like he really have this back problem. But on stage, he's jumping and stuff. It's like, and Ushi goes go like, how you're not supposed to be able to do that. Anyway, so Rani really, usually he walks slowly. He goes up the stairs slowly, and suddenly we see Rani running from downstairs. Guys, we made it.
How did that happen?
I don't know, but our name came last. We were the last name on the list.
Maybe they kept you to the end because it was a special surprise or something.
I don't know. I wasn't down there to he was like, yeah. He was like,
but you went from total disappointment. You went from total disappointment to, whoa, we're still in that game. We're still in the game.
Yeah,
I see.
And the next gig was the ballroom, which was a bigger venue. Not as historic and iconic as the Underworld, because every single major band in the world played in the Underworld in Camden. But it was the ballroom, and Tarja had just performed 2 days before us back then. Yeah,
she already went solo by then, right? 2007.
Yeah, I think so.
So, and what were you? What did you end up being?
We ended up seventh
out of 35.
Yeah.
With a relatively 1-year-old band.
Yeah.
Technically.
Yeah. Few months or 1 year maybe.
And still like a band from the Middle East, the only metal band. So against all odds, ending up 7.
Now the thing is, I think because that's what we decided. We knew that there are certain songs if we just played the same set that we played the day before.
Yeah.
Which was Lord of the Night and Battle Roar. We have a chance. Because that's the set that qualified us. Most of the band played the same set the second day.
Okay.
Because it's a different jury. And the point is to win.
Okay.
We decided we don't want to play the same set. We're living the dream, we just performed it.
Yeah.
We performed a gig in Lebanon. Now we have 2 gigs in London. Whoa, that's how we were thinking about it.
Yeah,
we were thinking about it as a gig rather than a competition, because we're having
not necessarily playing your best and most perfect, but showing whatever you had.
So we chose to play the land, which was a good choice. I mean, we kept the land. I think we didn't. I'm not sure. We didn't perform it the first day. We kept it because we know it's exotic, it's different, and then we chose Ceasefire, which is a very typical song with nothing original in it, as a song. And probably we might have qualified higher if we chose different songs, but we didn't care. We just wanted to play a different set in front of a crowd.
But overall, what did you learn from that experience, and what can you tell other people or other bands? Maybe it's some tips for anyone who's going to be part of a competition at any time next.
Oh, as far as competition goes,
Yeah.
the more you worry about the competitive aspect, the more you're not doing it right.
Okay.
Go there and perform and have fun and be entertaining. I mean, that's the point. So just do it as if you're rehearsing on stage. If you want to, I don't know, kick the bassist and tell him a joke on stage, do it. Don't be formal.
Yeah.
But also,
Entertainment is something they look for.
But also make sure that you have practiced enough. Make sure your guitars are in tune.
Yeah.
Together, not like tuned each alone and then they're not. There's these things that we did it as well.
I see.
But yeah, just perform to have fun. Do it because you want to. Because if you're performing because it's kind of like a very serious thing for you, take your craft seriously. Don't take yourself seriously. That's it. Yeah.
Okay. Before we move to more records and more releases, we're talking about performances. We're talking about competition performance. But now I'm going to switch by playing a video. We're going to watch the video first, and then we're going to talk about another type of performance. I would really like your comments on that. So I'm going to run the video. Probably
I have a feeling I'm not going to like the video. Okay.
Let's see. You can tell me what you liked and what you did not.
Okay.
And it talks about the failing fucking Arab Spring.
That was Blaakyum performing 2015, right?
Yeah. Before we get into all of this, I've been checking. First of all, Samir Ma'mere, he said that he shared the stage with us in the 90s. I'd like to know which band.
Okay, so I guess if he's hearing us, he's gonna write in the
If he's
comments.
still, yeah. And you have Adnan Hamdan, who's a very talented Syrian guitarist with a very sad story. He's also in the chat. I think he asked what advice should I give to new musicians, which we would, I mean, I said a bit of now and we'll say reply later. And he has a very good project which is now on hold because of the situation, but hopefully he can continue it. It's I don't remember the name, Storm something.
I guess
I don't know.
he will add that in the comments.
Storm of Death or something. Yeah, and he has many international artists. It's a global collective initiative that he's creating.
That's gonna be his first release.
Yeah, I think so. So he's a very good guitarist. So shout out for him. So you were asking about Wacken.
Yeah, let's call it Wacken, and fucking. That's fine.
Yeah, but now the thing is, one of the reasons I mean, it's not I don't like this video. It's nice, but
yeah.
First of all, the guitar sounds are horrible. There's a story about that. But the other thing is that at that time the album was recorded. The song is much slower than we did in the end, and the lyrics there basically were no lyrics. Like I was making up the lyrics as I go.
Wow, kind of an improvised stage performance.
I do that a lot, and everybody used to hate me for that. This is one of my flaws. Yeah, like I admit. So yeah.
So it was one of those
Storm of Death. It's Storm of Death. Yeah.
Okay.
The Adnan's
project. So it was your opportunity to perform on one of the biggest events, actually maybe the biggest event in the world when it comes to metal festivals, right? And you just went with it with some improvisation. Yeah,
I always do that. I had the concept. I think I had already written the lyrics, but I didn't memorize them yet.
Okay, I see.
So the lyrics are different. I mean, they're not. I mean, if somebody knows the song, it's not like, why is he singing different lyrics? Well, that's why.
How was it back then, like going to such a big festival, meeting different bands, performing on, for huge crowds? How was it?
Okay, well, if you want to talk about this, we'll go through the whole experience.
Go ahead.
So, Global Battle of the Bands was the first time I ever performed out of Lebanon.
Yeah.
Well, not Blaakyum. I had performed with the Hourglass, I think, in Dubai before, and we opened for Circle to Circle as well. And that was really a nice experience. We used to go to Turkey to watch bands. My first ever live concert after Scorpions in Lebanon was Dream Theater in 2002 in Turkey. And then 2003, I went and watched Dio. And with Opeth and Creator. And Creator is one of the bands that I really love. And of course, Dio.
I missed the chance to see Dio live.
Yeah, and during that trip, I was with the Greenpeace guys because I was in Greenpeace, and a lot of them were rockers and metalheads. And we went to a pub called Mojo in Istanbul, in Istiklal Street, and I went and I performed Mistreated because that was the thing I used to always perform with Communion. So I performed Mistreated with the guitarist of Mizar Kabul, which is back then was the only international Turkish band, Mizar Kabul. They were known as Pentagram in Turkey, but because there was an American band called Pentagram, so outside of Turkey they were called Mizar Kabul.
Okay.
So it was the guitarist and the drummer of Jimi Hendrix. Barely any teeth.
Really?
I remember that. Yeah,
What's
there's
he
that.
doing? What's
That's
he
what
doing in
I mean.
Istanbul?
That's what the owner of the pub told us. I don't know. I mean,
Okay.
yeah. So yeah, there was that was kind of my performances before that. But then in 2012, after we released Lord of the Night, we decided to do two things. The first thing we decided to do was, as a band, tour Lebanon, not just play in the known rock places, which is Beirut,
Usual.
Nova, Cherries, and
But Angle
Junior,
was a thing?
uh, it
No.
was more blues. They didn't.
Mhm.
I mean, at that time, I don't remember many rock metal bands played it.
Nova was more
There was
actually.
Nova and Cherries in Beirut,
Mm-hmm.
and before that there was, before ever Cherries was a thing, there was Purple Haze. So we performed there as Communion as well, and there was Rio Grande in June, and of course Tantra. I mean, that's where people would perform.
And
We
anyone from
didn't.
the south, anyone from the north had to come to the city.
You used to come here.
The Beirut area.
Now it's later that we discovered that actually there are pubs in Zahle that,
Yeah.
bands in Zahle. I used to perform with a band called Solitaire in Tripoli, progressive.
Mm-hmm.
So Solitaire, we used to perform in Tripoli, in Bet El Fan. But concerts. There were no pubs, or clubs. So we decided as a band to tour Lebanon. So we literally played in Saida, and we played in Zahle, we played in Deir al Amar, we played in Tripoli and Byblos and Beirut, of course. So we did this tour, and I think we were the first metal band, at least in Lebanon, to actually do that.
Mm-hmm. A country tour, a Lebanon tour.
Lebanon tour. We called it Power Cut Tour. It was because of, like in Deir al Amar and and we played in Hard Rock Cafe as well, and it was unplugged most of the time.
So you were expecting power cut?
No, we just, because it was unplugged, so we called it Power Cut, because that's a very national thing, our most national thing.
We all identify with that.
قطعت الكهرباء.
Yeah.
So that was one thing, and then we went and we performed in Egypt, in Cairo, in Metal Blast in 2012. That was our first official, other than London, the first official concert of Blaakyum metal concert outside of Lebanon. And then Elia Msawir came and told me, like, would you like to perform in Metalhead's Mission? It's a event in Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, sure. And then he was like, oh, and I can get you a spot in Metal Camp in Slovenia.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, so let's make a tour, So
Euro tour now.
And I already knew people in Poland, so we set a concert in Progressia Club in Warsaw, and we had another one in Krakow, which we didn't perform because by the time we got to Poland, that club that we were supposed to perform in got bankrupt and closed. And then from there we booked also Randall Club in Slovenia. So the tour was, we go to Ukraine. From Ukraine, we in Metalhead's Mission. From Metalhead's Mission, we performed in Metal Camp. Then from Metal Camp, we went to Progressia in Warsaw. To Slovakia. We played in Randall. Then we went to Progressia, and we ended the tour there. It was a nightmare. It was DIY to the point where we didn't know what we were doing. Rani and Jad was fed up half the way in the tour of having to sleep on the floor, and and on the way we stopped in Turkey for a few days and back in Turkey for a few hours. We slept in the airport. We slept in very scary rooms in Istanbul because we were guided to them by someone we met there, friend of ours, actually Freddy, he used to be guitarist in a band called Void in Lebanon, and he's living in Istanbul. And I told him, like, we were supposed to sleep somewhere but it was fully booked by the time we got there. So we went into this really shady street, like secluded away from, and it had these places with the, you know, very cheap but very untidy, and the toilets were horrible, and I don't know, the sheets were horrible.
Yeah.
So it wasn't the best relaxed tour you can imagine. Yeah. In Ukraine we had a lot of fun, and it's nice because we started the concert as we did in Egypt. Both in Egypt and Ukraine, we started with the national anthem as a metal song.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we went to perform in Metalhead's Mission, there was like 2 people in front of us. And then when we started performing the national anthem, you could see the flocks of people running and getting into the venue and into the stage. That was a nice thing to watch. Chimera was performing with us in Metalhead's Mission. And then one of the funny things that happened in Ukraine. There's a lot of things that happened in Ukraine, and I'm not gonna say them all. But if Rani is still in the chat, he would remember how spooked we were when the guy took us from Kiev to Evpatoria, to the Crimea. Oh, and when they ask me if I performed in Russia, I always say yes and no.
Okay, what difference does that make?
Well, we performed in Evpatoria, which is Crimea, which when we performed, it was Ukraine.
Yeah.
But today it's Russia.
Yeah. So it's split between the two at the time. Yeah.
So anyway, so there's a guy who took us in the bus, you know, from the organizers, and we stopped in the middle of a forest in the middle of nowhere. And we thought Jad was going like, oh, I think he's gonna, you know, take our organs.
Yeah.
You know, he's gonna. And then there's this old lady that opened the creepy door and is like, oh yeah, come in. That was our hotel. It was. But other than that, now there was a competition between the day. It was 3 days festival, which is the tits competition, with girls who go topless, and the girl with the most claps for her tits
really
will
that's
win
a
a
thing?
T-shirt. Yes. Yeah. And so one of the words we always hear everybody say, like when we go to the tavern, there was a tavern where all the musicians and fans and everybody mingles, and you'd see tables sitting together and they're cheering up and they're saying "Siske," you know.
Yeah.
And even girls together, they go like "Siske," and the other table go like "Siske," and for us, we thought that's cheers, you know. Yeah. And so at the end, the last day before we left, we were talking with the promoter and asked us, you know, if it was good, and we were like, yeah, "Siske," like, you know, cheers. And he was like, "What did you say?" And then he called his wife, like, come, say it again. I was like, "What, Siske?" And he was laughing. He's like, "Do you know what that means?" And Rabia was like, "Cheers?" I was like, no, Siske means tits.
You learned the wrong word there, yeah.
That's why everyone was saying it. I didn't know that, like, that they're so fond of it. So yeah, well, that's one thing that happened in metal, and that's where the first time I ever watched Gorguts live, and I've never heard of them before. And oof, what a band! Nile was performing, but I'm not a big Niles fan. So as music, you know, I'm not my cup of tea. So anyway, at least back then it wasn't. Then we went to Metal Camp, and that was the first time I ever see Testament live.
Yeah.
And you know, the Metal Camp was a highlight. It's by the way, Metal Camp is Metal Days. It's just a different name because the owners, you know, had a fight, blah blah. So literally, we performed in the last edition of Metal Camp in 2012, and the first edition of Metal Days in 2013. In Metal Days, we performed on the main stage. In Metal Camp, we performed on the on the second stage. But we met a lot of bands, and it was like incredible. And in 2013, we performed the Metal Days on the main stage, and that's where one of the highlights for me is when we met Overkill. You know, the thrash metal band Overkill with Bobby.
Yeah.
And that's what Rani said. It was like, because Bobby walks in and all the band walks in, and we were like, because we were in the catering area,
Yeah.
and because we were main stage, so we could meet all the main stage guys, you know. And so we ran to them, we took pictures with them, and they were so down to earth, so cool. And Bobby was like, when he's speaking, and Rani was like, the guy sounds the same when he's singing and when he's speaking, like, it's like it's the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, so cool, man. It was so cool. Like, I mean, I remember Rabia met Rob Flynn from Machine Head, and they were performing, and that was the first time I see Onslaught live. I've already knew about Onslaught before, but then I told my brother, come, you have to watch this band. Little did we know, like 3 years later, we're gonna be touring with these guys, and we became really close friends. We still are.
Yeah.
And I watched. Oh my god.
In a second.
Okay. Yeah, and you have to restart recording because it stopped.
We'll do.
This meeting is being recorded.
Yeah, so I guess we had a small technical issue there. Shit happens.
Yeah.
We're back live. We should be back live.
I think we are.
Yep,
I think.
we're back. So, what were we talking about? Let's resume from there.
Yeah. Well, I was just saying that, like, we met these incredible people, and everybody was down to earth, and it was shocking that, you know, they say don't meet your idols, but
Yeah, I wanted to ask you.
no, I mean, very few people were stuck. I mean, we didn't see anyone who was stuck up, because those who probably are, we never saw them. Like
Yeah.
King Diamond, he. I mean, the rest of the band was there, but he wasn't there.
Yeah, he has
You
his
know,
own pool table that they bring for him, or whatever those kind of stories.
But everybody was down to earth. We've met so many people. And everybody was like, I mean, like, hey buddy, how are you? They don't care. Like, it's not
Yeah.
like you're not famous. They don't talk to you. And what? Oh, you're from Lebanon. Many people were interested.
Nice.
Many people asked us about, especially in Ukraine, asked us about desert and camels. But yeah, so it was interesting. It was like, now we're laughing about it, but in both times, in the mini tour we did, and in 2013 when we performed main stage, there was a lot of tension in the band, and the tension grew.
Okay.
And yeah, and then we were writing the album, but the band was kind of like falling apart, if you want. And then we got to perform in Metal Battle in Lebanon, and we won. And at that time, we had I had met Lina online, who became our manager. She came with us to Wacken as a tryout. That's when the band became like, you know, like, the thing is that because we've been together for so long, especially Jad and Rani. I mean, Rani was with me since 2007.
Yeah.
Jad with me from 2009. And Rabia joined the band. My brother joined the band in 2012. And so Rani and Jad, I mean, from 2009 till 2013, 14, 15. In 2014, we performed in Biblos Festival, which is another highlight. And then we got to perform, we won the Metal Battle. Once we were there, now the main issue is that I always wanted us to rehearse like at least once or twice a week, and the guys were going like, why should we rehearse once or twice a week? We've been together for so long, we know all the songs, and we're not even performing much, so whenever there's a concert we can rehearse, but without the concert, why do we need to rehearse? And there was this kind of conflict, and at the time, things weren't that smooth in the band.
So there was some stress, some discussions, some arguments.
It didn't help that in 2013, there was someone with us who was our manager, but she just didn't know what she was doing, and it really, brought tension to the band. So at that time, when Wacken happened and we had to go and perform, it kind of, gave us hope that we might get somewhere. We really didn't think that we're gonna end up where we ended up. We were going there to perform, to have fun. There were like we were so shocked because we were during the day in the morning, and we went on stage and there were like around 6,000, that's what they told us, 6,700 people, which was probably the largest crowd we performed for. We ended up third. and I remember that Rani, we were like having kind of an interview after we were announced as the third runner-ups. He was like, next time we rehearse more and probably we would have made first. So, and that's when we got offered to record the album in Italy by Manuele. I'm not gonna say his family name because I'd butcher the name. It's Italian. So he when he sent us like an offer, like a reduced price for a full album, and in the same time it's kind of like he already told us that I need visibility, and so it does literally count when you start getting recognition. We met a lot of people in Wacken also, and that's when Lena started her networking and started, getting into the industry, because Lena was not in the metal industry. She literally started getting into the industry because she was managing us. So it was kind of, things were starting to move. And in my mind, it was about time, because as I said, when we first started the interview, that I try to give as much as I can. If I find that I need to learn something because I'm not on the level, I try to learn it. And then after all this, I check if it's working or not. And there was a time where I was going like, if we were any good, someone would have noticed us by now,
Yeah.
That was before 2015, like maybe really our music is not that good. Maybe we see it as good, but it's not that good. And you start questioning why am I continuing this? But when we ended up third, and for the record, there was like a lot of people came and told us we voted you number one. We have it. I have it on video, so I'm not, because there are many people who try to bullshit their way.
Yeah,
I have it.
You're making
video.
that up.
Yeah, like I voted for you number one, and even because the number two was the Israeli band, and the number one was from Canada. But I'm totally blank now in my mind. But anyway, and I'll tell you a funny thing about this as well. the Israeli, because each band has the someone who comes with them, which is the person who is organizing the metal event in that country or region. Okay.
Yeah, the representative, let's say, national representative.
And the way that happened in the metal battle, in at least that's how it happened in 2015. I don't know if they changed anything. That when they vote, it's everybody that votes. Even people who didn't watch you, they'll watch your video later, and they vote on the bands, like who's number one, who's number two.
Yeah.
Except the person who's like, for example, the guys from Canada. Of course, they got with them the organizer of the metal battle in Canada.
Yeah.
But he is not allowed to vote for his band. So nobody's allowed to vote. Yeah. You cannot vote for the band that comes from the region where you organized the event.
Okay.
You vote for all the rest.
Okay.
But you lobby.
Yeah, like, you talk to the other people like, the guys did well, huh?
Yeah, and you make sure did you watch them? If you didn't, come and see them. Blah. So Lina told us, because we did not get in contact with the Israeli band because
obvious reasons.
One picture will land you in jail in Lebanon.
Yeah.
But Lina is British, so
okay.
she's not. She has the UK passport. She's not Lebanese. So the Israeli promoter, if you want, came to her and told her, you need to be proud of yourself because you were the only band that did not have a presenter. Because Monica, the Metal Battle Middle East organizer, did not go to Wacken. So we did not have anyone lobbying. We didn't even know that was a thing. Yeah. It was literally the Israeli guy who said, you need to be proud that you made it third because you made it there lobbying. On your own.
Yeah.
So that was, and then there's a magazine, there's a newspaper for Wacken that get issued 3 times a year. So the first, the second, and the third day of Wacken every year. So it's a Wacken newspaper.
Yeah.
And in it, on the third day, where there was about, a review of the metal battle, review of the whole thing.
Yeah. The band.
The whole competition. And there was a picture of one band, and that band was Blaakyum.
Oh, heading the whole thing, like representing the whole thing, kind of.
The article. So that gave us like this. By the way, this picture is Rabia in Metal Days on the main count. So it gave us this not vindication, but as I told you, you start questioning: Am I good? Am I really?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not good. And then this comes as the answer,
that motivates you to keep going.
There is something. People saw something in you. Okay, and so fun part. That was the first concert that Eli, the tabla player, performed with us.
Eli Abu Abdo.
Eli Abu Abdo.
He's not a band member, right?
He's a sessionist, but he's been with us all this time.
Okay.
And for me, he's a part of the band now.
I always wanted to kind of ask, because I don't want to say it in the wrong way, but he's the guy who's playing the oriental part of things, right? Or he's that additional nuance in your music. And is his background also metal? Is he really a metal head? That's what I wanted to ask. Yeah.
No. We christened him.
Okay.
We literally christened him. And when we were going to Wacken in the airport in Istanbul, it's also on camera. There was Cherry, my girlfriend, was filming us.
Yeah.
And I grabbed him and I told him, okay, give me your hand. Okay, now put the first and the last finger and do this. Okay, you're a metalhead now. We literally christened him.
You should have dunked his hair in beer.
Don't worry about him. Trust me, don't worry about that. we literally would need to drag him every time. He drinks as much as all of us, including Pierre, who's the bassist now and who's French.
Yeah.
He still drinks more than him. So Eliud was the first time he comes with us, and so when we went there, Lina was she realized that it might rain, and so she already got us a place. So if it becomes so horrible in Wacken, we'd go to that place, and it did. Literally, our tent was soaked, everything was soaked, so we have to run and stay in the production tent. Funny fact, there were 4 bands that took shelter in this tent. It was Blaakyum, it was, I don't remember, I really can't, fuck me, I can't remember the name, I don't want to waste more time. The Canadian band, Walkways, which ended up second, and a pirate band. They're not metal, but they're pirates from Sweden. So these are the people who slept in the tent. So literally, the 3 bands who were the first, the second, and the third in the competition, we were in the same tent.
That's strange coincidence.
Since it was. We're like, not possible. I mean, it was. What are the odds?
Yeah.
So when it became, it was raining, especially the last day. We had to take shelter in the house that Rina rented, but also the first day we didn't sleep there, we slept in the house. So we were hungry, we were looking for somewhere to eat. We were getting from Wacken to the house that Lina rented, and we saw that nothing was open after 10 p.m. You're talking about, it's a rural area, so nothing was open, but we saw a hotel. And in the hotel there was like probably a bar, so we said maybe they have something to eat.
Yeah.
So we went there. Now, Eli, that's his first time with us. He knows. I mean, he's not a metalhead, but he knows that we're going to the biggest metal festival in the world. He started listening to metal, so he would perform with us. He understands the concept. He's a musician. He's a real musician. Like. He learned. He has a diploma in music. I mean, probably more than all of us. And we went into the hotel room, and there was Zach Stevens, the vocalist of Savatage, because that was the reunion of Savatage. That was in 2015. So there was Zach Stevens and the drummer of Savatage, who was also the drummer of Metal Church, which we met in 2013 because they played, I mean, on the main stage as well.
Yeah.
We met them, all of that. So Zach gets off his chair, he was drinking, and he looks at me, and he was like, "I know you. You're the guy with the golden voice," or something like this. Throat.
Nice. Yeah.
And that's because we performed in Dubai. We opened for them as the Hourglass, and they were Circle to Circle. And I remember Zach and the bassist in Circle to Circle, they were like, what a throat. They were doing like this.
That's another good thing. Yeah.
And then and actually I literally, like, Zach literally sang happy birthday to me because it was my birthday when I was there. We went to Applebee's. It's also on my Facebook, the video.
Yeah.
And he was like, he sang happy birthday, so we saw it. And Zach is one of my influences because Savatage, especially during I started listening to Savatage when they released Edge of Thorns, and that was Zach, and so my introduction to Savatage was before I heard them with John Oliva, and it was incredible. So he went like, I know you're, and then the drummer went to Rabia and he said, "Do you remember me?" And this is the fun part, you're imagining the drummer of Metal Church and Savatage is asking Rabia if Rabia remembers him, and who was getting mind blown, like his head was like, like you could feel there was
surreal.
It was Eli. Eli was like, how? He was like, كيف عم يصير هيك? And this is why that's what, it ties to what I was saying before. they're so down to earth. It's not like, you know, no, he was like, do you remember me? And Rabia was like, of course I remember you.
Do you think they practice being down to earth, or they just are? I mean, all bands.
No,
Those bands you meant.
no.
It's not like a PR thing. Be down to earth. Be friendly.
I mean,
with the people.
PR for who? We're in a secluded place.
Doesn't
There's
matter.
just Zach and I can't remember his name. Thompson.
I'm not gonna remember either. So.
So they were there, and the band. It was me, Jad, and Rani and Lina and Ili and Rabia.
Yeah.
And the staff. I mean, there's no press. There's nothing. I mean,
yeah. It's a relaxed environment, just being natural.
Yeah. And that was like way out of Wacken, not even in Wacken. We were just going and trying to find something to eat. So yeah,
that's interesting.
So these are the things that happened. Yeah.
Now that we're talking about Zach Stevens, we have to connect directly to the Hourglass. We have to give Hourglass the attention it deserves. So I'm gonna again play a video, and then we talk more about the Hourglass. Okay?
Okay.
Let's dive into that. I hope this is not another video that disappoints you, but you can let me know.
We see.
Is this the chance where you get to be Bruce Dickinson?
Is this the chance where I get to be Bruce Dickinson? Actually, the funny thing about this that I always used to kind of get into argument with Rawad when I growled in the songs, and it's like, no, don't growl, make it clean, and that's why like there's one of the songs called East of the Mediterranean. I was so happy because I could like literally strike and growl and all of that. It's definitely where I could. I mean, when we released Lord of the Night, a lot of the band members in Communion back then commented that why did you put a lot of growl in that. I don't know if he's still in the chat. Ziad Bardawil always tells me, why do you growl? Why don't you sing clean? You have a very, I mean, your voice in clean is good. And, I mean, I used to, back when I was young, I could get up to high registers. I used to sing Child in Time and She's Gone, Steelheart and all of that stuff. But for Blaakyum, a lot of people ask me, why don't you growl? And in my mind, and maybe I'm just thinking about this loud for the first time, I had my clean days with Hourglass. So that was, for me, an Hourglass thing. Rawad is a fan of he does listen to modern metal. He does listen to thrash. I mean, he's the one who introduced me to Lamb of God. It was like we were recording in Damascus for the second album, and he was like, "Listen," and he put the CD. I mean, he's the one who introduced me to Lamb of God. But he's into Diamond, Diamond King, King Diamond. Sorry, into Sabotage. I mean, the Hourglass, that's the name of the song. He's a huge Sabotage fan. Maiden. So he's into this heavy metal thing. And this is how we met. He was looking for someone who would be able to sing that style. And that's my roots. I come from there. I come from new wave of British heavy metal. That's what I grew up listening to and what I grew up liking. So yeah, I mean, you could say that's where I get to be. I don't know, Bruce Dickinson or Dio. I mean, it's a bit
both
arrogant to say this. I don't claim to ever be on the level of the giants, but I mean, yeah, I could sing, and I like to sing that. To this day, me and my brother Rabia, sometimes we used to perform in small pubs. He plays the guitar and I sing, and we have backing tracks, and I'd sing Led Zeppelin and Deep Purple and you know, these stuff that I love. I mean, I love classic rock. I love hard rock. I love heavy metal, and I still sing that. But that's already done, in my opinion. I mean, with Blaakyum, I like to sing the way I feel, you know. If I'm angry, I'm gonna growl, and if I mean, there is clean. I do sing sometimes, clean vocals, but I love to growl. I mean, I like the aggressive. I like the aggressive form of art. It's part of letting out your frustration and your anger, and yeah, I just enjoy it.
So I obviously see the difference between the vocals in Blaakyum and the Hourglass, but the lyrics also, they carry a lot of aggression, or sometimes carry those heavy messages in the Hourglass project, right?
Yes, but first of all, the Hourglass is Rawad's baby, and although sometimes I did change the vocal lines, and at times he would just tell me, do whatever you want with the vocal lines. It's his project and it's his vision, and he's producing it. So when he wants clean vocals, I give him clean vocals. I try. I told you, we used to argue, like, come on, let me But in the end, like when in the last EP, Ancient Hope, we covered a song for Diamond Head, and he was the one who said like, okay, I remember that you used to like, James Hetfield, and to sing, used to imitate him as well on stage. And this song, let's imagine that what if Metallica covered it and we'll sing it. So I gave it more of a James Hetfield vibe. Literally, with the yeah and all of that,
Yeah, there has to be about 10 to 20 there. So
yeah.
Qualify.
So but in the end, it's my voice. It will not sound like anyone else.
But did Aram had to play the drums the way Metallica do, the way Lars does it? So from start to end, or?
I mean, I don't think he can, even if he wanted to. Aram is a good drummer, man.
I know. I just
he's an incredible. He won't be able to fuck it up, even if he tried to.
I know. You can see in the video he's a beast on the drums, and he played on a lot of different projects.
Sadly, the only album he actually recorded with the Hourglass was Ancient Hope. Resurrection of the Horrid Dream. It was a Lebanese drummer who lived in Denmark or Sweden. I don't know. I don't remember his name. He literally recorded it there and sent the tracks to Syria. And the first album, it was I think the drummer was called Bahij. I think he was the drummer that started the project with Rawad. And when we did our first ever rehearsal, we did it in Rawad's farm. He had a farm in Hummus, which I think now it's all gone, sadly. So Aram only literally performed in the records on the last one, but I mean he performed all the live shows, and I met Aram actually way before the Hourglass. When I used to go to Turkey to watch concerts, I'd always pass by Aleppo, and that's where I met Shant and Aram and the Hourglass. I used to just go a few days before and crash at Shant's house, and we just meet people and go out and spend a few days, and then I go to Syria. Then I come to Turkey. Then I come back from Turkey and then crash a few days at Shant's house, and then come back to Lebanon. And that was how I started, connecting with the Syrian metal scene, and know what was going on there, then how the police was cracking down on them and all of that.
I actually got more into the Syrian metal scene through the Hourglass project, actually, and I met Rawad through watching the band playing live in Lebanon. I met also Aram through the same process. So we were geographically close, as in two metal scenes, but not so connected, probably until the Hourglass or those first visits between the two countries.
I mean, the Hourglass was the first time that a Syrian band performed in Lebanon, I think. At least since 95 until that time. It was the first time that I go to and perform in Syria, in Aleppo, and get chased by the Syrian Mukhabarat, the Syrian
intelligence
service.
Officers,
and had to smuggle ourselves out of the venue, and good times.
So you also have to take the risks, right, of playing the music, the dangerous music, the loud music, and the music of the West, right?
That's what metal is all about. It's always about taking risks. Yeah, it was viewed as, like I do remember when I used to go before the Hourglass, and they would tell me, like some of the people who were arrested, and they would literally tell me that because Syria is a secular country, it's not religious. Well, at least it was before the war.
The current situation.
Yeah, and the intelligence officer who was investigating, who would tell the guy, like, you want to worship the devil, you want to worship, I don't know, the donkey, I don't care, but why do you do this? Like the Jews were the head banging for them. He saw it as, and Syrian regime was Ba'ath, so it was very Arabic nationalism, anti-Zionist, so they always felt that was the whole conspiracy theory, which the Egyptians also faced, that this music is is sent by the Zionists to destroy our culture.
Yeah. They
It's a
connected
facepalm
things.
moment. Yeah. Yeah.
I see. Well, I don't think we need to argue that point, but the reasons for that such claims is obvious as usual. They want to find reasons to ban it, reasons to like whatever. There's always whatever is new is probably a Zionist conspiracy. Whatever is different, whatever is new.
It's one of the plagues of, if you wanna, I don't know, I know you don't want to talk politics, but it's one of the plagues of the Arabs. The Arabs. The Arabic nation or Arabism is a failed concept because the people always have the blame game. They need to blame the West, blame everyone for their misfortunes. And the fact that they really believe in all these conspiracy theories, you know. I mean, yes, there are, I mean, Israel did harm us, but I mean, the Arabs are not, I mean, there's more, although I'm a total anti-Zionist, but there's more democracy in Israel than most Arabic countries. I mean, you know, and so trying to live all this conspiracy theory.
Yeah, but it's important to mention there is democracy, but not for all the people there.
Of course, it's an apartheid state.
Yeah, there are some. Definitely. Let's not go too much into that. But
the point is the point I'm making is that they blame everything on Israel and the West. I mean, yes, Israel did harm us. Yes, it is an enemy for a lot of Arabic nations. But the reason why the Arabs are the way they are is not because of anyone other than themselves, and that includes us as Lebanese, because we
don't take responsibility.
We don't have critical thinking. We don't critically think. The Lebanese till this day, with everything that's happening, you'd go and see people still saying, "Oh, it's the best country in the world. We can go from ski." You can ski and then go to the beach in 2 hours, which is like, really, what? In what? I mean, it takes me 6 hours, 4 hours to get from Beirut to London. It takes me 3 hours to get from Beirut to Doha. It takes me 8 hours to get from a university to home because there's traffic. You know, and it's all this self-righteousness and self-centered to the point where you cannot see the flaws in yourself, and there's no nation on earth that can advance without saying, that's I mean, when I was in the UK and we'd argue about certain political things and they would be criticizing someone and I would say like, but remember, you used to do worse. You ruled the world, and the reply of anyone who I would be talking to, he said like, I remember this phrase. He said, "Please don't remind me how we were. We were horrible people." So you will never advance as a country without first admitting how bad you are and fix them. So
that's
but
true, totally true. It's very difficult to. That starts from the culture, starts from the people before it starts from anywhere else, and it's difficult to change the mindset and change the way we behave, the way we think.
I mean, and honestly, there is a starting point for this to change, which is horrible, which is our education system, which is the reason why
it's getting worse now.
Yeah, I mean, the education system in Lebanon is based on memorizing and giving the teacher what they want. I mean, how many times did you realize that the teacher was wrong and everyone would tell you, "Khalas, give the teacher what he wants and you get the grade."
Yeah, they teach you by authority, kind of an authority teaching. So you follow what I'm saying and that's it.
Yes, you learn how to kiss ass. That's what they teach in school.
But this is where you lose the capability to criticize. If the teacher just says, "Take it as it is and shut up," then you're not going to learn to criticize.
I mean, you get penalized if you. I mean, if you argue with the teacher, his point in civilized world, if a student is arguing the teacher's point, even if the student is wrong, he gets a grade for you know, for thinking.
Challenging the thought.
Yeah, in Lebanon, if you challenge your teacher, you get kicked out of the class, or you get a.
They'll call your parents. Punishment. They'll send you home.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
So that's
I've been through
that's we've all been through it, you know.
Yeah. Let's finish with the Hourglass topic. You got to the Ancient Hope. That was the EP, but after that, it kind of moved to another direction, as it was the baby of Rawad. I think he got one of his dreams come true, right? With this single release, Play the Pawn.
Yeah, he got Zach and he got John Oliva to perform on the same track.
Yeah, so he had his kind of heroes on one of his tracks, right?
Not just heroes, because one of the iconic moments in the history of Savatage is when they were performing on the same album. What was it called? Dead Winter Dead, you know, and they never did that after. Like there was, you know, like the Savatage stopped existing. You had Oliva Spain and you have Circle to Circle, and Rawad did it even before they did it back again in 2015 when they performed together as Savatage in Wacken. So Rawad got that before them.
I see. So that's a big thing for someone to have that kind of a goal, to have those people to do that kind of a single track, to have that kind of achievement for himself before anything else. Do you have such a similar kind of a hope plan, like to have someone, you know, on a single with Blaakyum maybe?
Oh god. When we did the Metal Mercenaries tour in 2016 with Onslaught.
Yeah.
And let me start how it all started. In Wacken, the promoter in Finland, he was like, I think he wasn't. He did the metal battle for Sweden or Denmark. I don't remember, but he's from Finland. And when he knew that we're from Lebanon, he was very excited. He told me, "I'm gonna try and get you to a concert I organized in Sweden." In Finland, and maybe I can get you to Tuska. And I was like, "What's Tuska?" And he was like, "Tuska is the biggest metal festival in Helsinki, in Finland."
Yeah,
but I can't guarantee you that. But I do another concert in the forest. Blah blah. I can take you there. And then in 2016, there was a bombing in Hamra. There was a bomb that was planted in Blombank.
Wow, yeah.
And it blew. It was at night. There was no casualties, but it was right next to Blombank was Metallica, which is a
music shop, was it? Or
it's a clothes,
jewelry,
music, and
fashion.
Shadow Metallica.
Yeah,
it's called. So we had Line of Fear there. We put Line of Fear in all Metallica branches, Shadow Metallica branches in Lebanon as a way to sell them.
Yeah.
And so our albums were like destroyed. I mean, I have a couple of them burned and yeah. And so on our Facebook we said that luckily the only real casualties we know was our CDs. But that was enough for the promoter, who was like shocked by what happened, to say, "That's it, I'm getting you to Tuska."
Okay.
And we performed in Tuska. They're very nice things to say about what happened with us in Tuska. I'll get into that later. But then after Tuska, Alina sent us a message and said, "Okay, guys, give me a list of bands that you would like to perform with. You know, like you would like to open for or go on tour with."
Yeah.
My reply was one band. It was Onslaught. I just wrote Onslaught, and she was like, "Oh, come on! I asked for a list. Give me more than one." You know, and Rabia also, when he sent his list, the first name was Onslaught.
Wow. Okay.
And like a few weeks later, she was like, "Okay, guys, I have some news for you. You're going on tour with Onslaught." I was like,
That was fast.
Oh my God, it was incredible. It was incredible, and yeah, we went on this, and we were like, we were looking at the tour date, and I mean, Onslaught are they've been there since the 80s. Their second album is one of the iconic thrash albums of all times, alongside Master of Puppets and alongside, Extreme Aggression of Creator. You have The Force, and these guys are old. We're thinking. And I'm looking at this, and it's like it's back to back, 16 days, not a single day of rest. And I was like, oh shit, how are we going to? And I went online. I was like, advice for bands touring for the first time. I mean, we've never done this before, and like everything goes like, if this is your first tour, never perform more than 3 dates in a row. And I was like, oh, how? That's not gonna happen.
Okay.
Anyway, so we met them, and it was like, this moment of like meeting your idols, and there were Sai, the vocalist, which is also one of my all-time influences now. He's there with his coffee in the morning, shorts, and I creep up to him like, starstruck, and go like, can I ask you a question? How do you keep that voice? And it's as if you're not aging.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, nothing, little bit of tea and a little bit of weed wouldn't help. I was like, okay. and then we became really friends. They watched us. We performed the first day, and they were watching. We weren't with them on the bus. The bus, they had 3 bands. There was No Return from France and Mors Principium Est from Sweden, and them. And we were in a camper van. By the 4th gig, we were they would come to the van, and we were hanging out with them all of the time. I remember Sai telling me like, I wish you were with us in the nightliner, and they would give us tips, and they would watch us and tell us like, okay, this is good, do this, don't do that, in this gig you did good, but in that gig the stage was empty. And I remember the bassist Jeff, he's going like, Destruction, they're 3 people, they're just 3 people, but they fill the stage, and this was an incredible experience, having to perform every day, having to to get into this discipline, and keep the stamina. It's so good,
demanding, but
it's good. Fulfilling. And Sai, that's why we started this whole thing. He told me, next album I want to sing on one of your tracks, and I was like, I wouldn't even dare ask you this because it's an honor.
He suggested.
And I was, and he kept reminding me a few times, but then, he's no longer performing with Onslaught now, and then the revolution happened. The last time he was asking me, he literally, last time he contacted me, not last time, but like he would remind me that he's still up for it, but in the end, all his messages are you okay? Are you safe? Do you need help? Because the revolution happened, and then the pandemic happened, and then everything went into it's. But I still think that he's an incredible person. They all are. There's just, now they have a few changes in the band, but going back to Tuska.
Yeah.
In Tuska, we were the only band that performed in Tuska in 2016 that was not a signed band or a known band.
Yeah.
And so people would. Okay, so what happened is that we went on stage in the middle of the concert. I was telling Rabia, this is it. Let's finish. You know, like we had half the set is not done yet.
Yeah.
And I felt like, why are we performing? Nobody, who's gonna listen to us? It was this down phase. The lights were in my face, so all I could see was like 20 people in front of me. And Rabia was like, don't be stupid. شو مهبول. finish. Let's finish the concert. Okay. And we finished the concert, and I just, I said something that people picked up on. I said, preserve your freedom, Finland. You don't know how lucky you are.
Yeah.
And I took the guitar and I went out and went backstage, and I wasn't happy. I mean, there wasn't this kind of fulfillment that I performed, in Helsinki, in Tuska.
Why?
And because I just didn't. I felt it was empty. I didn't feel that we were giving it our best. At least me.
Yeah.
And then the promoter comes with a big smile on his face and the mobile, and he shows me the picture, and it's one of the pictures we were looking at, which is us, and there's people in front of the stage.
Mm-hmm.
And especially that I watched Havoc, which I'm so much into, perform on that stage before, and so I was looking at all these bands, and I felt that we didn't do much. Yeah, this one. This is a picture from this is what he showed me. He came and he showed me this. And I was like, this is how many people there were? I mean, that's us. And if you look at the picture, of course, upstairs it's filled, and the people are all the way and even outside. I mean, they're all the way
all with their hands up, right? All with their they're all part of it. Yeah.
So it was packed. It was fully packed, and people were coming after when we finished.
Yeah.
People were running to us, and by the way, this guy with the flag, with the Lebanese flag, he's a fan. We did.
He's not
it's not some. No.
Yeah.
He's from Finland, and he's a fan, and
cool.
He knows. He was singing our song and music. I was like, what the hell is going on? And then there was these people who were coming and telling me or Rabia or whoever they see. I'm like, oh my God, why I've never heard of you before? And we were like in our heads, because we're the only on-time band in this concert.
But this is people didn't really exposure. Great exposure.
For them there was like, they didn't even think that we might be a band that is not known. For them, they're watching a band that they probably don't know, but everybody else knows. and then we discovered that right outside the venue, on the left, is where people stand in line to fill their to put water, to fill water. There's a water I don't know what you call it.
Fountain, you'd say?
Fountain, yeah. So we got so many good reviews, to the point where Yle, which is YLE, Yle, it is the Finnish Broadcast Corporation. We made headlines, and our article, as we were told, is the second most read that week.
Wow. Okay.
And the article says, the headline says, preserve your freedom.
Your
Finland.
message.
You don't know how lucky you are. Yeah, that was the headline. And so one of the people who literally gave us a very good review, told us that, or said in the review, that she was literally going there just to put water, and she heard the music, and she was like, she liked what she was listening to, and she went in, and that's how we got most of the people who were listening to us, because we're not a known band. Nobody knows who we are, So yeah, these are the times that.
So people who want to buy your music from Finland now, for example, they can find everything in a digital format on Bandcamp, on some other.
No,
websites,
we don't have a Bandcamp. It's on Spotify, Amazon, YouTube.
So we'll add those links in the comments. But
iTunes.
Why not a Bandcamp? Because it seems like I asked not long ago. I did ask, like, what is the best platform that actually ends up paying the artist most? And the most common answer I got was Bandcamp. Like, if you buy an album on Bandcamp,
yeah.
Go ahead.
You get the full price,
or most of it.
Yeah. But Bandcamp is just Bandcamp. So if you don't have someone to keep pushing and giving your Bandcamp to people, I mean, on Spotify people can discover you. On Bandcamp,
recommended stuff.
They probably would discover. They have to go to Bandcamp, while most people are on Spotify. I mean, there's this pros and cons. Do you want to get more money or do you want to get more exposure? But that wasn't the reason. I mean, the first thing when we came back from the tour, Lena said, let's do a Bandcamp page. And we tried. But the issue is we can't in Lebanon because it's based, you have to enter your PayPal information and we don't have PayPal in Lebanon.
It's banned.
So that's why I don't think most Lebanese bands are not on Bandcamp.
Unless they have someone abroad who is willing to do whatever, the whole kind of a inconsistent setup. I see. I guess now that you mentioned that, I have to ask you about that. We still have 3 main topics to talk about, but now that you mentioned abroad, you are in Qatar. You moved to Qatar recently. When did you move?
I haven't moved yet. I haven't moved fully yet. I'm trying to get a residency. I came in December because every year I used to come here because my parents are here, spend Christmas with them, and so we came here. Now our visa is 6 months, so we're trying to start a business here and try to stay here because, first of all, Lebanon is dangerous now. It's going down, and already we've been trying to move from Lebanon to Europe as a band since 2 years. Because after the tours and after this, and then we played Bloodstock in UK and played in London. All the deals that were offered to us are distribution deals. Now this might get technical now, but you don't get. Now there is no record deal.
It's fine, but I would like you to explain a bit the technical side of things. That's fine.
Okay. Record deals today are not what they used to be. They're not even record deals, if I might say. I mean, up until 2002, 2003, up until that, the first half of the new millennium, first 5 to 10 years maybe, a record deal was a typical record deal, like in the 80s and the 90s, where a label would scout you and they would give you enough money, literally, like I don't know, $100,000, $200,000 to record. So the idea is for you to have enough money to not do anything and just compose, record, and release. And these record deals don't exist anymore. So nobody makes money from record deals. What we were looking for was a deal that get us gigs, because that's how you sell, that's how you make money, and that's how you get exposure. And that's, for me at least, and the band, for Blaakyum, that's the end goal. We want to perform live. We want that. So the deals we got were distribution deals, which would get you nowhere. It just will get you music out there, and well, maybe it might get you somewhere, but it's not what we wanted. We want someone to get us gigs, support us, help us develop. And the labels that were interested in that, when they know that we're from Lebanon, they go like, oh,
technically difficult.
Yeah, we don't have a system for Lebanon. I mean, legally, and there you have no copyrights, and the whole visa issue. Like, we can't book you and then somebody not get the visa. I mean, we can't do that.
That limits a lot your options.
And especially when you're a small band. I mean, how much money are they gonna make? Probably gonna do $2,000-3,000 or euros as a small band. That's what they will make as money, but that they will have to pay as tickets for you to come from Lebanon, because Lebanon, for some reason, Lebanon is one of the most expensive places to fly from. تعرف نحن الشانزليزيه وباريس الشرق, you know.
Yeah.
And so it financially it's not working, you know, legally they don't have a system for you, so they told us move to Europe and then we'll talk.
Yeah.
You know, you have bands that are not even metal band, like Who Killed Bruce Lee, only made it big when they all moved to Europe.
They are in Germany, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So so we wanted to move. Now the situation in Lebanon is getting worse and worse. I mean, we've been fighting the system in Lebanon since forever. And we got to the point, at least in my age now, that I spend 25 or more, 26 years of my life fighting in Lebanon to only look around and see it become worse and no prospect, and it's a talent grave. Lebanon is a talent graveyard. It's a graveyard for talents. So we said, let's move. And then, you know, the Beirut bombing happened, which was devastating, even more than 2006 July war.
Yeah.
And you know, Hassan, our drummer, went back to Saudi Arabia, and Pierre, now the bassist, is trying to find. He's in Africa now. And so me and my brother, we came here for Christmas, and then we said, you know what, let's try to make some business and stay here, and then either stay here or then move to Europe.
I see.
With the rest of the band. So
did you check for the artist visa in Europe? Because I know some people applying.
Course.
Yeah, it's complicated. It's difficult. It's what's this?
In Germany, that's. I mean, the most thing I learned from Germany, because when the bombing happened, there was a journalist who met us in Metal Camp 2012, and he liked us, and he was very, you know, we became friends.
So stayed in touch, and he
He contacted me the day after the bombing. He said, if there's anything I can do to get you to Germany, let me know. And I told him, yeah, let's see. How can we do this? And so we thought, artist visa to do what? You know, you cannot perform in Germany
at the moment, right? So the COVID thing is killing.
Yeah. So we thought, like, maybe we go on a freelance visa, and we're working this out now. To be honest, I'm even thinking, I mean, I don't know if Hassan is in the group, in the chat. I'm even thinking, try to get Hassan here and Pierre here. I mean, I'm pretty sure also Rabia feels the same. The band, although in Lebanon we didn't meet much, you know, like we don't meet much, but there's this thing that you belong to, this group of people who are friends and who are musicians and different ages. I mean, Hassan is the youngest, and then there's Rabia, and there's Pierre, and there's me. Like, there's 3 generations in that band. And that's probably one of the things that will show in the next album. And you remember when I said, like, the first one was everything me? I wrote music and everything, and that wasn't what I wanted. So in Line of Fear, you have songs that Rabia wrote, like 2 or 3, 4. I mean, half the album, and even now in the next album, he even wrote more than me. And we have one of the songs that also Rani wrote before he left the band, so it's going to be in the next album. And everyone is putting their inputs. That in the past, Line of Fears, how I imagine the drums, because I have written all the music and everything. He had a bit of input in Line of Fear, but now in the next album, which is going to be called The Industry of Death, I mean, Hassan did the drums, and Hassan is an incredible drummer. He's insane, you know. And Eli, we just play, and he just does his thing. He created. Rabia is composing more than half the music, and Pierre, he brought his. Pierre is he used to be into hardcore, so he got this hardcore punch, because with Rani it was more, you know, there was so much jazz and and stuff going on. But with Pierre, it's more hardcore, you know, you know. So
We'll have some more
it's
breakdowns.
evolving. It's evolving in a good way.
Okay.
So yeah. I'm
What
in
about
Qatar,
lyrically?
and well, it's called Industry of Death.
It's
There's one of the songs is called Corporate Monarch, and I think it fits now. So because you have to understand, we started writing this album right when after we won in Wacken. Like when we won in Wacken, Line of Fear was written. So we recorded it in 2000 and we released it in 2016. When we were performing in Tuska in the tour in 2016, we were already having the songs composed. We recorded this album in 2019, so it's been recorded since 3 years.
It's ready.
Yeah. So Corporate Monarch, in the lyrics of the songs, we say slave to the system, slave to the bank. It's an anti-bank song.
And it's about Lebanon now and the situation.
Way
also,
before,
right?
yeah. And there's a song called Democracy of Fascists, which is about the rise of populism and all of that. It's the industry of death. It's everything. Humans really, there's an industry of death. You create a war to make money.
And leads to death of innocence, like usual.
You make money from people suffering and from people's dying.
Yeah, they make some money by selling they make some money by selling some material at the port. They make some money by
yeah.
And people end up losing their lives, but not just that, they end up losing their futures.
Yeah, and those responsible are making money out of all of this.
Yeah. So 200 people lost their lives, 6,000 people were injured, and 600,000 people at least lost their future.
Right? Yep, and those responsible are still there, trying to figure out how can they
who to blame.
I mean, I don't even. No. Forget who to blame. They're still trying to take part of the government, and I want these, and you take these. And what are they? I mean, they stole everything. They robbed the country, but they're empowered by those who are supporting them.
Okay, let's see how long that support will last, and we'll keep going. I wanted to ask you, before we get to our, let's say, closing section of this, during the last years, so at least since your last release 2016, there were also other bands releasing their music, sometimes performing with you, like you mentioned Chimera. They performed in the same festivals or on some same tour, right? They joined you. Can you mention some of the albums or EPs or maybe even singles that you heard in the last 5 years that you think are promising bands, or maybe bands that are coming with a new kind of energy or stuff you could mention?
Now, in the past, there were way more bands than now, sadly, and understandably because of the situation.
Yeah.
I do remember, for example, like when I was forming Blaakyum, there were Lebanese bands that were impressive and that influenced me. Exceed was one of them, and Threshold of Pain, which was the first band I ever heard that played Oriental metal, if you want. So these were influencing us. Now, there were so many bands in at that time. Cimmerian Path, Chain of Disease, Dogma, Sidra, and all the ones we mentioned before, Grey Scroll. Oh my, there were so many bands. Nowadays, there are lesser bands, although now it's easier to record, it's easier to come with new stuff. So sadly, there aren't many bands anymore, but those who are sticking to their guns, like Eden, Fall of Eden. I think they're called now. They're gonna be releasing an album soon. You have Fenemy. They're perform. They already released 3 albums. The last one was way more improvement than before, and they're a band that also are sticking to their guns and trying to be there and against all odds.
Yeah.
And you have Slave to Sirens, of course, with their brand of death thrash. And now Chimera are still there. Khabar, you have Khabar. I don't know if not many people maybe know about Khabar. Khabar is the guitarist of Weeping Willow, Garo, who made a new band with the vocalist of Element 26. And I don't remember the guitarist. I think the guitarist is a new talent that he discovered, and the drummer is Derek Rudy. So it's a very promising. I mean, if you they're doing crazy stuff in their music. They're trying to go out of the comfort zone of the typical musical position.
Yeah.
I think Chimera are about also to release a new album.
When will your
It's sad
album be out?
that they are not. Sorry,
Is Chimera gonna beat you to it, or
they could probably possibly.
okay?
We're hoping to release the album really soon this year, but I mean, with the whole situation now, and we're trying not to go for a self-release again.
Yeah.
But it seems. I mean, we're talking about the technicality and the labels. Today, a label won't help you anymore as it used to in the past. So
Situation, yeah.
PRing, you have to find a good PR. You have to find agents and managers. So, and we were still waiting for the artwork. The designer, who's the same guy who designed the first album, who's also worked on artwork for Megadeth and Oyster. I forgot the name of the band. Oyster something.
Blue Oyster Cult?
Yeah, Blue Oyster Cult. And other. I mean, he's busy, so it started now recently. But when you talk with anyone, who you feel the heaviness of the situation of the pandemic. I mean, some people that we used to work with and get works done quickly, it's taking time because they're depressed or trying to survive. Literally trying to survive.
It's difficult everywhere worldwide. And double the difficulty in Lebanon.
Yep. So I mean, these are the bands that are still active. I don't know in this period. I mean, I've been away from Lebanon for a few months. I don't know if there's anything new coming up, but yeah.
I will close this. I will close this with few questions that go about what do you have as a message, or do you have a message? And I'll start with saying, do you have a message for the bands that are starting at the moment?
Know what you're getting into. It's not going to be easy, especially now in a way. But on the other hand, I mean, the whole world has changed, and now bands can literally record and perform and sell their performance online and get to people way more. I mean, in the past, nobody would have thought that streaming a live concert of you performing in the room was anything that would get you any attention. The only way you can get known is to go out there and tour. So there's this golden opportunity if you're starting now. But at the same time, know that's going to be difficult, not so that you be discouraged, but that you could sustain yourself, you could persevere. The only winner is the people who persevere till the end. Practice. I mean, that's the most cliche thing, but everybody needs to be reminded. Always practice. Even if you have incredible ideas and original music, you need to have the musicianship, so practice and practice together. A band is a bunch of friends, and the more they're friends together, the more the music is gonna be, in harmony and stronger. So, yeah.
Do you have a
Just
message?
don't give up.
I see. Yeah, you need that endurance. You need to keep going.
Yeah.
You need to maintain self-confidence, as far as I noticed from what you described earlier.
Yeah.
You need to maintain a certain level of confidence or self-confidence, right? Do you have a message for the bands that have been around for some time? Like Chimera,
Do I have a message for the bands? First of all, they're all heroes. Yeah, yani, hats off for them.
Yeah.
The message is that what we learned now from the whole pandemic and the whole problem of what was going on is that we had a lot of rivalry in the metal scene in Lebanon and even in Syria, with bands in Syria between each other. There was this kind of negative rivalry, I mean, when we ended up third in Wacken, I do remember very well the amount of people that were like going like, oh, they just paid they paid money and that's why they get it. This kind of jealousy / rivalry / you're Lebanese, you're not as good as Europeans.
Yeah.
But if there's anything we learned now is that the only people that's gonna support you are the bands around you, are these guys, and the people in the scene, in the industry.
So they are the people who understand most what you're going through. They're the
people that are gonna help you. Yeah, and they're the people that are gonna help you. I mean, when we were, in Wacken, there are people who would sit down and make them listen to other Lebanese bands, and they would be like, what? This music is from Lebanon? And you see like what's happening now with Unmuted Show and Adnan and what he's trying to do. The amount of people that just write, like, I have never imagined that that I'm listening to people from the Middle East, and that someone in I don't know, in Chicago or in Germany or in Poland and I, for example, I just discovered there's a Pakistani metal scene. There were people from Pakistan,
That's a huge
So basically, when a band gets somewhere, it will bring everyone else. So the support, when you're supporting the others, you're supporting yourself. I mean, when the thrash movement, the Bay Area thrash movement, picked up, they were fighting with the glam scene, but they weren't fighting with each other, as a scene. You wouldn't find Metallica go on stage and say, who the hell do Slayer think themselves? They're nothing. You don't see that. And another thing that I've noticed that exists in international scenes and we don't see in Lebanon is that the new generation is never grateful for the older generation. They never admit that we are influenced by this generation.
Yeah.
Or we're influenced by this band. Like, they don't, like, literally, I don't think Blaakyum would have exist the way it is today if not of Exceed and Threshold of Pain. These two bands, because they were, I still remember them to this day. 26 years later, I still remember the first time I heard Ergile a song for Threshold of Pain, and how much that influenced me. Or the first time I heard Haitham al-Khatib singing, and I'll go like, oh my God, what was he singing? He was singing We Are the Champions, but I was like, the power, the presence,
I've seen him live. He's amazing.
So these people influenced me, and I admit it. So this is another thing I don't see in the Arab scene in general, not just the Lebanese scene. I don't see people saying these. I mean, there are few people, like, for example, Jean-Michel from Postmortem / Riot, Damage Right / now Svengali.
Yeah.
Like, people would come and tell me, "Ah, yeah, Jean-Michel mentioned you. He said he used to watch you when he was young." So these people are few. The more we open up to each other, the more we admit if we are influenced, because for some reason a lot of Arabs think it is, it diminishes their value if they admit that, they're influenced by someone before them. So and listen to the advice of the people who did the mistakes. That's the most important thing, in my opinion. Bands like Chimera and Blaakyum and even Khavar, because Garo has been there with Weeping Willow since forever, benefit from this experience because we've done the mistakes, so you don't need to do them again.
So you can always guide
we've already done them. I mean,
so they miss out that chance to have someone with more experience to help them, jump to better performance much faster. Like learn from others' mistakes before you learn from yours.
I mean, just don't think that you know it all. Don't think that you're better than others, and just don't go like, I mean, I've met so many of these people. They perform 1 or 2 gigs and then they come like, stuck up. And I'm meeting my idols, and my idols are going like, "Hell, I know you. You have a very good voice.
Do you remember me?" They ask. They ask you.
Yes, they ask. Do you remember me? It's like, what the hell, And then you come back to Lebanon and you see that side. Now, not everybody, of course. They're incredible people who supported each other. Fenemy has been supporting us, and they are the younger band, for example. And you see people who are willing to help, who are willing to give from their time. But in general, this rivalry should end. I think now it's going to end because now we are barely meeting each other. Like we have this kind of thirst. I miss the days where we would go and tell each other, "I'm going to kick your ass on stage." But before I say this, I say very good performance, but I'm going to kick you. I mean, this kind of rivalry is nice. When it's
it
like
pushes
this,
you to be better, pushes you to do better. That's all good, always good.
Yep, exactly.
Do you have a message to the promoters, to the journals, to the magazines, to the bloggers, to Lab Metal? Like, do you have a message as a band to those people who usually tag along, who usually follow up, or try to?
The promoters in the Arab world, I've seen this in Lebanon, I've seen this in Dubai, I've seen this maybe in Syria, and I'm pretty sure it's all over the world. It's just like bands, there's always rivalry. And as I said, friendly rivalry is good. I made a concert, you will go and say, "Oh, nice, but I'm gonna do better." That's good. But I mean, the Dubai scene at a certain point fell apart. I know this because of the Hourglass, because I've been visiting, Dubai a lot and performing with the Hourglass and sitting with the promoters and asking them like, why people are coming to the shows, and you discover that the promoters they backstab each other, and they, at least they used to. And so it's hard to build something when everybody is in trying to backstab the other for what? Not for money. There's no money in metal, just for what? Bragging rights? No. I mean, what's in it? I mean, why
it's
not
push constructive in any way?
Yeah.
It's only
now this is a bit old. Maybe now things have changed. I'm hearing that, for example, in Dubai things are changing. Or at least right before the pandemic they were changing. They were changing in Lebanon before the pandemic as well. I mean, we had our clashes, and then we sit and talk together. But in general, I had it in my band. There is a time when Rani came to me and Jad and said, "We don't want to play for free anymore," for example. Promoters are ripping us off. Now, some maybe did at some point. But if anybody understands event management, you know that the way event managers make money, the bulk of the money comes from sponsorship, not from ticket sales. Ticket sales barely covers 10 to 20% of your expenses. Yeah.
20%.
So, If it's a big concert, think of
Yeah.
it. If you're gonna, if you get the sound system for X money and stage crew and all of that, all of this are cost, plus backstage stuff for the bands, and you're not paying the bands. The ticket sales will barely cover your cost if you have to pay the bands. So metal does not have people who like to sponsor it in the Arab world. We don't make money out of sponsorship. You barely make money out of tickets. So the bands and the promoters need to be supporting each other, because at the end of the day, nobody's making a penny. It's all, you're doing this just so you'd have a place to perform.
Yeah.
And when a place shuts down, you lose this. When Cherries shut down and Tantra was demolished, the scene died. Because there were no more pubs and none of these were making money. That's why Cherries shut down. That's why Tantra was demolished and they turned it into a parking lot, because a parking lot makes them more money than concerts.
Than a venue, venue.
Yeah. So yeah.
Do you have
this is my advice. My message is, please come together.
That one is gonna be an even more difficult come together message. Do you have a message for our politicians in government in Lebanon?
Oh yes, please die. Please die. Please die. I mean, fucking die.
Sounds like peace.
First of all, they're not. They're not. No, they're literally. Please die. They're not our politicians and leaders. They are a criminal gangs of thugs that are occupying Lebanon. We are an occupied country by assholes. Everyone, every single one, from the top to all the parties and the party leaders, no exception, no fucking exception. Those who are not corrupt are failed people. They failed. They're failure. I don't like to use the term loser, but they're losers.
But they're put there because they can't do much and they just nod with their heads.
They are all there to benefit everyone, even those who are patriotic. Everyone is benefiting.
Yeah.
And in the end, when the people goes down to on the street, you see them all, those who are, against each other, you see them say the same rhetoric. And they all, in the end, say the same thing. It's the people against the criminals and low lives who are occupying us. So I have no message for them other than please die.
It's a simple message. It should resonate.
روحوا موتوا.
So the final question: do you have a message for the metal listeners and people who listen to music like Blaakyum's music and metal in general?
A lot of people that we met when we did the tour, they would come and say, "Can I buy your music?" And I say, "Yeah, it's on Spotify." No. Is there a CD, physical CD? And so they're like, yes, because that's the only place we can sell the CDs. Metal musicians, and everybody can Google that, because of the fact that there was Spotify and there's things like Anghami and everything is digitalized. Yeah. And you can monitor them. It turned out that metal listeners are among the most faithful to the music, the most recurring listeners, and I mean, all I can say for anyone who listens to metal and support underground music, because 90% of the metalheads are hungry for that, is thank you. And that's why metal is still here 40 years after its inception. Not a single music form has survived 40 years. You remember how many times you heard metal is dead? You know how many times you heard metal is dead?
Every 2 years.
Yes. And the funniest part is that the first time people said metal is dead was in 1975. They were asking if metal was dead. 79, sorry, but 2 years after Black Sabbath released their album. So, yep, metal listeners are the reason why we're all here, and thank you. You guys are the shit, as we say.
Okay, Bassem. So, I have reached the end of the list of questions I had for you, and that was quite an informative trip through the entire story.
And too long. Sorry for everyone. I mean, I'm hopefully, if anyone listened to this whole thing, thank you.
Don't worry. We will cut it into pieces also later and share pieces of it on special subjects, especially maybe talking about the new album at some points, talking about Lebanon on its
Well, I don't know if you're still recording this. I want this for the record.
Yeah, we definitely will be. We are recording everything. Yeah.
Okay, so for the record, just before you end, I want to talk about something I haven't talked much about, which is the Sepultura issue in 2019. Sepultura was banned from coming to Lebanon by the head of the security, ISF, Internal
Security Forces.
Yeah. The head. Now he's being a hero politically. And that guy and this institution banned them, most probably because someone tipped them and because the religious institutions asked them to ban. Now, the reason of the ban, which you are not allowed to look at,
really?
And this is yeah. I mean, human rights. There's no human rights in Lebanon.
Just the ban and take it and just go home.
Yeah. مؤسسة الأمن العام والأمن مش أمن الدولة الأمن الداخلي غير إنسانية بلبنان. عم بقولها بالعربي لتوصل.
I have to clearly state here that we don't adopt anything you say. You are totally responsible of your own claims.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they did not let us, because it's illegal to look at the reason of the ban, unless the band bring a lawyer, but they're not allowed to come, but they need to anyway.
Yeah, which band's gotta go through all of this anyway?
The reason that they read for us is performing in Israel and being devil worshippers. Okay,
the usual.
Now, regardless from the fact that Sepultura never performed in Israel, they only made a video clip in the occupied territories because back then they were very pro-Palestinian cause. That's who they banned. The hijjah, the alibi that they performed in Lebanon is just bullshit, because so many bands have performed in Israel and
they were
came
in
to Lebanon. Yeah, like Scorpions and every single year that Scorpions performs in Lebanon, they have performed in Israel before, but they did not ban that. But they banned smaller bands because they can get away with it, and so that the religious institutions would not give them headache and kill them. So this has cost us, and a lot of us, including Mr. Jihad Al-Mor, a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of nerves that were wrecked, and relationship with promoters that were destroyed, just so a bunch of self-entitled lowlives do illegal stuff and ban and censor others. Censorship is something that we will never accept, and فشل على رقبة أكبر واحد. One day we will get them غصبا عن دعسة رقبة الكل.
I see. So Defiance still going.
أكيد.
I also wish to see them in Lebanon performing. I wish to see any band who would like to come and perform in Lebanon to do so. Obviously, the exceptions are clear. The exception are the bands who support the Zionist regime in the south. We would never support such bands. But we definitely support any band that respects human rights and talks about that. Anyway, metal is for everyone. Metal is for anyone who would like to listen to it. He can and should be able to do so. I had one question that I skipped on, but now that you mentioned this, maybe I'll ask it. Do you have a message for the religious institutions?
الله يبعدكم ويسعدكم.
Okay.
The message for the religion institutions is we would fight for the right of every single person to worship whoever he wants, to have his own religion, to be able to get to his temple, which is a church, a synagogue, a mosque. We will fight for their right for that. But also we will fight for the right of everyone to believe in whatever they want, and for the religious institutions to get the hell out of politics and government.
Okay, so with this, I have no other questions. If you have a final short statement, we will close with that.
I'm sorry if I offended anyone.
Okay. Bassem, thank you very much. This was very informative, very fun, very interesting. I hope everybody watching us also found it so. Thank you for doing this, and hope to see you soon and talk about the new album when it's coming.
Hopefully.
Okay?
لقد فشل الربيع العربي.